Good evening and welcome to Nerd Rage Gaming's Pokemon League Challenge. My name is Dan Hugar. I am here with Brian DeVeza, and we are ready for the last tournament of the Shrouded Fables format. So, Brian, how you feeling today?
I'm doing great, Dan, and I'm very surprised at our turnout for tonight. It's like kind of like, format's kind of drawn out. People are kind of tired of it, but we have a lot of people here today.
Dude, we do. We have, I think, 32 players, something around
Yeah,
that
something
range.
around that. And we have, we'll have 5 rounds for everybody, I think. Is it 5 or 6?
Yes, it should. It'll actually be 6 rounds, I
Oh, it's
think,
going to be
which
6.
means we
Wow.
crossed the 31-player threshold, I
Oh,
believe.
wow. So, even more for everybody to watch.
Yeah, we got a lot of good Pokemon
Yeah.
here. And we are starting off with a very interesting matchup of Regidrago V-Star, classic,
Yeah.
possibly best deck in format, versus a newcomer out of Baltimore in Palkia Dusknoir with played by Rafal over here on the right. So we'll see who starts it off. But
Yeah.
Brian, initial thoughts on this matchup?
I really like the Palkia deck a lot. I've been playing it for like the entire week. And it's just super cool. You have a lot of like really cool outs, a lot of ways to take extra prizes, and there's just a lot of things you can really do with the deck to, take advantage of the new cards.
Exactly. We've
Yeah.
always known Palkia as a very efficient attacker. Obviously, it was by far the best deck in format for a while,
hmm
but now it can be coupled with that really interesting combo piece in the Dusknoir, and we also see that Froakie. So going over to Jared's term, though, we have Regidrago V starting, we have a Nest Ball, and that's almost always got to get Squawkabilly EX, right?
Yeah, usually as long as you can get Squawk, or sometimes you'll get the Ogre I didn't get to see Jared's hand too much, so I don't know if he has maybe the Squawk in hand already, or if he's got enough pieces to where he feels like he doesn't need the Squawk.
Well, he does have Ultra Ball, Grass Energy, Prime Catcher, so that's a really good hand.
Oh yeah, he drew out with like the Giratina, so 2 dragons into the discard already.
That is.
Jared's off to a really quick start.
Yes, and it looks like we do have an Earthen Vessel in hand. So Jared has an interesting option. He could just get another Dragon, discard it with the Vessel and attach active, or get another Ogre and try to draw. But,
Yeah, the Squawk.
we do see the Squawk. So how do you feel about that decision?
Yeah, I kind of like the Squawk, just because, I feel like he wanted to hold earlier before getting the Squawk because of the Prime Catcher being in hand, and but I do like that he was able to eventually get it.
And it was a Super Rod. So it being a Super Rod, not being an Earthen Vessel, I actually completely agree with that decision.
Yes.
Because it would be better to make sure that you can get the energy attachment down rather than hope to just hit something off the research.
Yeah, definitely. And Jared pretty much got everything he needed done this turn. Like he doesn't really need to turbo fast and get all these like cards in play yet, just because he knows that Rafal can't pressure him this turn.
Correct. One thing that Rafal does have working against him here, though, is the Duskulls
Yeah.
only have 60 HP.
Yes.
And with that, Dragapult EX in the discard for Jared, that is a very easy extra prize for him.
Yeah, and also when you're playing all these really small basics like the Froakie and the Duskulls, they're also liabilities to the Kyurem as well.
Yes, and Kyurem is a huge. Now, granted, Kyurem does require ditching every energy on the Regidrago V-Star, but if Jared's able to do that before using his V-Star, he's probably going to be in a good position.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we do see the Squawkabilly EX come down for Rafal and the Pokestop, so Rafal is cooking.
Yeah, definitely. We were playing a lot earlier, and he was just having all these crazy hands, so it's definitely he can definitely run hot tonight.
And so we'll see if he decides to play that Pokestop first or use the Earthen Vessel. We are going with the Pokestop. That's not great, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It isn't, but it's just the luck of the draw with Pokestop.
It is. And so we have a Spiritomb in hand. The Rafal can get rid of to get some energy. We've got a Duskull available. We have an Ultra Ball that can go get Radiant Greninja, and that feels like it's got to be the decision here, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just because I wasn't really playing Palkia when it was like tearing up the format, so I was kind of like learning it for the first time, and I was sort of just prioritizing, get the energies in the discard, and then you can really get a lot of really oppressive plays going forward with the Radiant Greninja.
Or we could have a prized Radiant Greninja
Yes.
and not go for it.
Yep.
So looking at Rafal's hand, that's a little catastrophic since he has nothing right now.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not like the worst thing in the world. Just because there is a world where Jared's able to take the first 2 prizes on like the Palkia and stuff like that. So being able to have that extra attacker is also pretty helpful as well.
It is. And Jared actually just top decked a Professor's Research, which is a huge deal because now he's going to be able to play the game and hopefully find that Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah, definitely. And do you agree with the way that Jared's sequencing out this turn? Because when you have the option of being able to like teal dance or like do something like that before playing research, how do you usually think about that?
So in this scenario, when you have 3 grass energy in hand, I do like the teal dance first
Hmm.
because there's no guarantees you're going to find it with only, I think, 2 grass energy remaining in deck.
Yeah.
So just being able to dig, and then he did draw into the Ultra Ball to get the Regidrago V-Star. So the question is just going to be, what attack do you use here?
I would say I feel like there's no harm in just going with the Phantom Dive here.
And I would agree. I think the
Yeah.
Phantom Dive is the very straightforward, clean play. Take 2 prizes with knocking out that Duskull, and then you still clear out something that could be a threat later in that, excuse me, Terra Greninja EX,
Yes.
which is a big old board to try to hit through.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm a really big fan of trying to just get rid of the Duskulls just because it is such a big part of this deck's identity, is being able to take advantage of the Dusclops and Dusknoir abilities. So being able to clear those off the board definitely puts Raph a little behind.
And it is a big deal, especially because with that, excuse me, Palkia V-Star available, if Rafal's able to use the Dusknoir and kind of pop it there, he would be able to do enough damage to one-shot the Regidrago. But
Yeah.
right now, with Palkia, we're not even close to a one-shot.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it doesn't feel that great having to do the two shot here. So, I'm wondering how Raph tries to claw back this turn, if he tries to gust around or if he just tries to go for the big hit in the active.
Well, a key piece of this is actually being able to hit with a
Yes.
Palkia V-Star anyway, which right now we are not doing.
Yes.
So we see the Duskull.
Yes. Which is weird because I feel like when you get towards the middle of the game, it feels almost like it's like too much of a liability to put more Duskulls on the bench, knowing that Phantom Dive could just clean them up.
Yes, and I think Rafal really would have wanted to see 2 his turn 1, but
Hmm.
going second, putting those down, and then having Jared get the Phantom Dive off does not feel good.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to see a search for a stadium, which is not
Oh,
great.
the rule of the region.
A turn 2 rule the region is
Yeah.
not the move
Yeah.
typically. All right, so going into Jared's turn, we will see the draw, and with his V-Star still available, Jared can just go attack with this active Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is like extra pieces to work with, like E-Switch and stuff like that in the deck. So Jared definitely has a way of getting another attack off, and it's definitely going to be a little punishing on Raph's end here.
Definitely. So we do see the double grass, which did you see a fire energy in hand for Jared?
Yeah, I did see one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then with the double grass, we'll be able to teal dance. We'll be able to attach the fire energy to the active. Oh, and we get to teal dance a little bit more too. So we'll see the dance, see the draw, and
Mew.
Jared's just kind of in a commanding position here.
Yeah, he's just going super quickly. He's just able to just keep, like, going through his board, furthering the board state, and sooner or later he's going to be able to get another attack here.
And I mean, sooner or later, it could be right now.
Yeah.
Because if he Ultra Balls the boss and the Mew, gets a Regidrago V-Star, uses the Professor's Research, oh, but he's choosing to dig for an E-Switch, which I don't mind that. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I don't mind that either. I'm just trying to figure out though how Jared's going to go for his attack here. Like what his like choice would be. Like, do you go for something like the Giratina to get the full, 2 prize knockout? Do you use that boss's orders in hand to get a 3 prize turn? And there's a lot of options that Jared really has here to further his lead.
There are, and to be honest, I think if you're Jared, you.
Whoa! Oh
No,
wait,
that's right. That's right.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
good. We're good.
It's just the energies are all spread apart. So
Yes. So we do see Jared go with the restart, and I think, like you said, I think he's actually digging for the boss.
well, he has boss in hand.
Oh, he has boss, and so he's trying
Yeah.
to dig for the E switch to not use the V star,
Yeah.
and then take a 2 prize turn on that Greninja and Duskull, which I really, really like this move here, barring a catastrophic V star.
Yeah.
And it looks like it was not. Like, those are totally fine things to get rid of. Maybe getting rid of the boss hurts, but that's about it.
Yeah. It's not too bad.
And we see the E switch come out, which we knew was going to happen. And then maybe it's just another boss's orders.
Yeah, it's always good to have the extra gust, especially when you're trying to clean up the game. Just being able to have like gust available just gives you so much more of a commanding position.
Prime Catcher seems good too.
Yes,
Prime Catcher seems pretty
yes, I think I do like having the prime catcher just because if Raph's like move is to try to stall with like putting something else in the active, he's able to, clean up the game that way.
Yes. And at this point, I think we are basically in a checkmate position for
Yes.
Jared.
I mean, he has got two fully powered up attackers. It's really tough to get get more.
Get anything,
Yeah.
honestly, because with that Palkia only having 280 HP, Rafal can go into the Blood Moon Ursaluna for knockout, but I mean, Jared just has game with any attack.
Yeah, and I mean, if he was even able to get that E switch, like he still would have had the V Star available too.
Yes.
So, it just really adds like more salt in the wounds almost.
And there's that Greninja EX that could be useful, obviously not now at this
Yeah,
point. But so we have a Palkia V-Star.
we do have a Palkia V Star.
And I don't think that's going to be enough. Well, those are pretty good.
Yeah, those are good cards.
So maybe there is a world where we see something crazy here. And I'm trying to think what world that is. Brian, is there an out for Rafal somewhere?
I'm not seeing it. I mean, he's down 4 prizes right now, and Jared has a way of knocking out anything that Rafal puts on his board.
And I think we would have to go into, use that Prime Catcher to go into hit into like the Ogre Pond without energy
Mhm.
and try to not take a knockout, which right now, with 7 Pokemon down, we're doing 200 damage, which is technically not a knockout.
Yeah, and even if you were to go that route of like not getting the knockout, it's hard to gust around it and take multiple prizes because the Terra blocks it from bench damage.
Yes. The one advantage he would be able to use is a Duskull, because with 2
Yes.
prizes remaining, Rafal doesn't mind giving up one more. Once we get to a point of 1 prize remaining, then that Duskull is essentially a dead card.
Yes, definitely. And we got the V Star here, so we're definitely getting an attack off.
Yes. And we'll be able to get a Duskull out, because at this point, like, everything on Rafal's board gives us 2 prizes.
Yep.
Oh, but we are failing. We may be out of Duskulls there. Because that is a face Rafal has is
Yeah.
not a happy one.
Not a happy one.
All right, so we failed an S-Ball. We have Duskmore line in hand. We do have to Prime Catcher the Ogre Pond, I believe. And I think Rafal's just trying to see what's the out.
Yeah.
We actually go with the Squawk.
The Squawk.
Are we going with the Motivate? That can't be right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Rafal's just kind of stuck here.
Yep.
I guess with that third Pokemon coming down onto the board, with 8 Pokemon down, Rafal is knocking out anything on Jared's board. And
Yeah.
Jared has the energy to retreat the Squawk ability. So, unfortunately, a pretty quick game for Rafal. Just couldn't get that Palkia deck to function.
Yeah, I mean, losing the coin flip was a big part of it.
Yes.
It's like it's tough when a coin flip kind of decides a game, but in this instance, it's kind of hard to ignore that.
And it's a big deal. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest deal, too, is Rafal could only get a single Duskull down.
Yes.
If we're able
Yep.
to get multiple Duskull down,
Mm-hmm.
Rafal has a much better opportunity to start being aggressive, knocking out that Regidrago V-Star with an Iono or something, rather than just being like, yeah, you got me, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's going to be something that a lot of players will have to learn is like how to properly sequence like Dusknoir and Iono and all of that stuff.
Yes. And so, Bryce, are we jumping over to our second game? Yes, we are. So we are seeing another interesting matchup
Yeah,
here.
we got the NRG friendly fire here.
We do have some energy team-on-team violence.
Yep.
But we have the Bayonet EX versus Miraidon EX. And Brian, seems like a really interesting matchup.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, Miraidon is very dependent on item cards like Electric Generator, and if Banette's able to item lock you, then it's like, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
do? And Ryan's kind of forcing Eli to figure that out of
Yeah.
how are you going to handle this? And also, with 3 damage counters on that active Miraidon EX, Eli just needs, I guess it would still be times 60. So Ryan has a one-shot on this Miraidon EX with 4 trainer cards in hand for Eli, and that is pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. But it's always like a tough thing with these Banette decks is like when do you break the item lock? Like when's like the proper time to break it, and if you're like so where you don't get like punished for it.
Yes. And so we do see Ryan debating that Ultra Ball. We have the energy to take a knockout on this Miraidon if we need. And we see the Ultra Ball come down. So how important is it for Ryan to set up a backup Bayonet EX?
I think it's very important because the moment he breaks item lock, he's pretty much like it's pretty much like gonna get knocked out, right?
Yes.
I mean, the Banette EX is what, like 250 HP?
Yes,
So,
250.
I mean, I think it could last a turn, but being able to have it powered up again to do another, was it Poltergeist? Is that the second attack?
Poltergeist is the
Yeah.
second attack.
Yeah, so being able to, set that up again is very important. And it
We-
takes 2 turns to do that, so.
It does.
Yeah.
There is no energy acceleration as a part of this deck. It is all manual attachments.
Yep.
So, and we will see the Poltergeist here. We do see plenty of items.
Yep.
Well, actually, we see 3 for 180 plus 4. That is perfect math for Ryan to take the knockout here. So 2 prizes Ryan. He goes down to 2 prizes remaining. Eli is able to use items, but I don't know how good he's feeling about it.
Yeah, and it's almost like Ryan's almost in the checkmate position too, just because when you have that Duskull on the bench, that can quickly become a Dusk Noir, and even with that Bravery Charm, you're knocking it out.
So right now that Miraidon does have 150 HP remaining because it has 270 with the Bravery Charm minus the 120. So that is out of the range of Dusk Noir, assuming that, Bravery Charm stays in play.
Yeah.
And I don't know how likely that is at this point.
Yeah, and it's not like the Dust Noir is like the only thing that could knock it out because you can just like, combo it with the Banette attack.
True.
So what I'm wondering now is, does Eli try to thin his hand of the items just so the Poltergeist doesn't hit for higher numbers?
I mean, it makes sense. And I think Eli is going to, in general, want to try to set up some more attackers here. And that Blood Moon Ursaluna is an incredible attacker right now, even though
Yes.
it is just shy of the 250 he needs to do. So Blood Moon Ursaluna does 240 for 5 colorless energy. Now that Ryan is down at 2 prizes, only needs 1 colorless energy based on that ability. And so we're going to see the Arven, and I got to imagine that's a generator to try to do something tricky here with Iron Hands.
Yeah, definitely. And being able to just have the option of using items again, it gives Eli such a good opportunity here to claw back into the game.
It does. And so Eli can take it with 4 prizes remaining. Eli just needs to take 2 knockouts.
Yep.
And that can be one with Iron Hands, one with Miraidon. It can be anything else, but he's got to get something on the board. And I see
Yeah.
him declining to take a Raikou. Any ideas on that?
Yeah, I feel like the Raikou is just such a good card to have here. I mean, it's a very low maintenance attacker, and has some card draw on it as well.
It does. The Force Seal Stone is still in hand. It looks like we're going to use Luminion, though. That's an interesting decision here.
Yeah,
Any idea why, do you think?
probably just to have, Gust for next turn. I don't know how often these Banette decks are playing like a lot of like disruption. Like I'm trying to see here through the list.
So the Bayonet decks do play a couple Iono, since I believe they play maybe 1
Oh, he
Professor's
plays
Research
4 Iono.
and 4 Iono, exactly.
Yeah.
So Ryan will be able to disrupt relatively consistently, which is, I believe Eli's doing this so he has access to the Force Seal Stone, but man, I don't know if I agree with this decision.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so we see the Force Seal Stone come down. We do have a generator, but what are you knocking out with this Iron Hands right now anyway?
I mean, the bundle is there, but I mean, you just put that other Banette, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or you can even go into the Mew EX or something
Yeah.
like that. Since, well, we see
Oh,
one
there's
lightning.
one. Oh, there's
Okay,
two.
all right. So we do get the double lightning. Eli's feeling good, feeling good. And we do have the boss in hand, but we can't play the boss because we already played Arven.
Yeah.
All right, so we do see that come down. And then
The switch card's really important here too, just because being able to heal makes it a lot tougher to knock out.
it does. As we go into the interesting. We're going to V-Star, and we're going to V-Star for
Oh,
Prime
Prime
Catcher.
Catcher.
Okay, so then we will be able to knock out either the Duskull or even the Luminion for 3
Yeah,
prizes.
I kind of like the Luminion for 3 prizes idea, just because at that point, Ursaluna can kind of just like clean up something really small.
Yes.
So I don't see any harm in going for the Luminion play here.
And now going for the boss makes way more sense if we are going to use that Forest Seal Stone, because now we can take 3 prizes and then use either Bundle or go in with the Blood Moon or something similar to take the last prize.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's a lot of options for that. I mean, like the Alakazam, like a lot of these things won't be able to survive the Blood
Right.
Moon Ursa Luna.
Exactly. So then what do you think Eli goes with here? Is it the Tapu, or excuse me, the Fini? Gosh, the Luminion? Is it Mew? Is it Duskull?
I'm kind of leaning towards Luminion, but I can also see a world where the Duskull also. Just because the Duskull is like such an important part of cleaning up the last two prizes for Ryan, just being able to take that off the board and not allow it to get evolved is like really big.
And Eli doesn't even show us the hands, which is very disappointing. But
Mhm.
the other issue is there's a solid chance Eli has 4 trainer cards in his hand after taking 2 items,
Yep.
2 prizes. But he doesn't. With the Radiant Greninja and the Zapdos coming into his hand from the prizes, this Iron Hands is going to tank a Poltergeist should Ryan go that route.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder like what else like Ryan can do here to like stall out the game, you know? Like
Well, one thing to
yeah.
note is I do believe the Bayonet deck does play the Blood Moon Ursa Luna itself. So do you have the list there,
Oh
Brian?
yes, I do.
And so there is an opportunity for him to take his last knockout just with the Blood Moon Ursa
Yeah,
Luna,
yeah,
assuming it is in deck.
Blood Moon Ursa Luna. I think it is in the deck.
Did you see
I
it?
think I saw it towards the beginning of his deck here.
Perfect. And if
Yeah.
it is in deck, then all Ryan needs is a single Psychic Energy to be able to attach to the Blood Moon Ursa Luna and knock out this Iron Hands EX.
Yeah, that's probably what Ryan's looking to do here is to I mean, you can Iono, you can use oh wait, I guess it's not in there. I thought the red there was like a full art, like the one that
I
Eli
also
has.
thought it was for a
Yeah, I
second.
thought it was like the one that Eli has.
So, okay, so we're not seeing Blood Moon right
Yeah.
now. And maybe we are just trying to thin our deck out. But if we are, I wonder why we didn't grab a card.
Yeah.
I guess
I
we're
do see Ionos in hand though.
we do.
That's huge.
Oh,
Oh wait,
well,
it's
okay,
yeah.
that's fair.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Well, there we go. So we're gonna restart for 2. See if we see a Night Stretcher or an Energy. It's a Buddy Poffin. That is a
Shove
it. We're gonna be able to Pokestop.
Yep.
Pokestop.
Oh, Night
We see the Night
Stretcher.
Stretcher. And that is all Ryan is going to need to go in and take a knockout on the Iron Hands EX. And
That was a good game.
it was a good game.
Yeah.
Eli fought back for an opportunity there, even
Yeah.
making a bit of a risky move.
Yeah, it was definitely like a really risky move, but I mean it pretty much paid off. Like it definitely was worth it for him to make that play and he kept it really close. Even when we
Did.
thought that he was like 4 prizes behind, this and that, he was able to claw back and put him in a position to where if Ryan didn't hit that, he would have won the game.
Well, Bayonet is such an interesting deck into this format because you kind of saw with Eli, so many decks right now are just pop off, blow things up, fill your
Yeah.
whole bench in a turn. So Ryan, in giving Eli a single turn of items, kind of opened up a ton for him.
Yeah, definitely.
And Eli almost stole the game from it.
Yeah.
And Ryan is laughing now, but I was a little stressed for him.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things we're doing today is because obviously we are in Stellar Crown format as of tomorrow, actually. So we want to get you some good games to close out the format, but we also want to talk about some of the decks coming up because, Brian, in case you haven't heard, we have our first League Cup of the season on Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean this is going to be a huge weekend for Pokemon because I think we have 2 regionals.
Yes.
In Chicago we have double cup weekend.
Yes.
And it transitions from the regional into our 1K. So
And it
Yeah.
just works beautifully. The Dortmund stream, Germany is about 7 hours ahead of us.
Yep.
They're going to be closing down right about the time we're starting up. So if all y'all want to watch some Pokemon on Sunday for the Stellar Crown format, this is going to be the place to be.
yeah, definitely. And I'm really excited because it's gotten to the point where we needed to open up more spots
Yes.
for more people. There's so many people want to play.
Which I love
Yeah.
to see it. And we are very excited to have that many people here.
Yeah.
So in preparation for Sunday, I want to take a look at a couple lists
Yeah.
in the Stellar Crown format that are doing well online. So these are taken from some of our own creations that we've been making, some of the late nights, and I try to always give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
But this is the Miraidon list that got top 8 at a recent late night, and this is a very, very unique list.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that jumps to me is Cornerstone Ogrepon.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a card that can definitely checkmate a lot of matchups if you have no answer to it. If you don't play Cologne, if you don't play anything like Fluttermane or stuff like that, like it can definitely be a very oppressive card.
Well, and this deck doesn't even plan to attack with it, just based
Yeah.
on the tools and items available. But what it can do is use this, one, to be an out for Area Zero underdepths, and two, just to give yourself, like you said, Brian, time.
Yeah.
Time against some of your very scary matchups. That way you can set up a checkmate game plan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it gives you an alternate win condition, which is super cool. And I mean, the Mewtwo EX is probably like the biggest new addition as well with the Area Zero under depth. So, being able to utilize all of those new pieces, it gives Miraidon some new light because stuff like Raikou are able to hit for those big numbers it wasn't able to beforehand.
Yes, and I think previously Miraidon was a Miraidon deck.
Yeah.
Now going into Stellar Crown, it's really a Raikou V and an Iron Hands deck.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a toolbox now. I mean, you have so many different attackers that you can go with that it covers up a lot of those bad matchups that you had beforehand.
It does. One of the
Yeah.
major issues Miraidon had was a low damage cap going
Yeah.
into this format. And now Raikou, with that Area Zero underdepths, we went from having a damage cap of 220 to now having a damage cap of, do math, 340,
Yeah.
which is really, really good. Now, granted, it requires your opponent to make some questionable decisions.
Yeah.
But even just having enough of a cap to threaten that can force your opponent to make uncomfortable plays and not take advantage of their own board.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to hit that 3 something cap all the time. I mean,
Right.
you can even get to a point where you can comfortably amp Pidgeot. And that's all
Absolutely.
that you really need sometimes.
Well, and even beyond that, you can Raikou and one-shot a Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah.
You can Raikou and one-shot, like, pretty much anything your opponent puts down that isn't a Charizard EX.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's such an easy attacker to power up. You know, like, it's getting to the point where other decks are starting to use Raikou V.
Yeah, we saw it come into Lugia this past
Mhm.
week, or Baltimore weekend 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
and Worlds too.
Yes,
So,
and
yeah.
Worlds. Which, anytime you have an efficient attacker that can draw cards, you're probably going to find a home for it
Yeah,
somewhere.
definitely.
And so the other couple pieces to note here, we talked about Iron Hands. Amp you very much, as we saw Eli use it there to take a whole lot of prizes. Does 120 damage for Lightning 3 colorless, and you take an extra prize, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I know you mentioned kind of a toolbox. Even with like these more pieces added, they're really just like 4 attacks that this deck will use. They'll use Amp you very much, Arm Press if desperate times call for desperate
Yeah.
measures, Raikou, Lightning Rondo, Phantom Blaster or Photon Blaster, excuse me, from Rhydon,
Yep.
and then Blood Moon from Blood Moon Ursaluna, because
Yeah.
being able to do 240 for a single attachment is disgusting.
Yeah, definitely. And even though it's not been really used as much as in the previous like year or so, I still think that the electric ball from the Zapdos can have some merit too in some of those single prize matchups, just to
Yeah.
force your opponent onto odd prizing.
Absolutely. So, Brian, if you don't mind, since we have Eli right here after a rough go around, can I kick you off the mic just to ask him
Absolutely.
a couple questions about his deck? And then
Yeah.
if pairings are going up, if you want to check that out,
Yeah, I'll
and then
take
we'll
that.
swap out. Eli, thank you
Hello.
very much for joining us, sir. I am sorry that was a rough ending to that game there, so
Um,
I won't make you relive that.
Yeah, so one thing I do want to say, my opening hand was Miraidon, 5 Lightning Energy, and a DTE.
So you're playing Miraidon.
And I top decked a boss.
There you
And did
great.
nothing. I did nothing for the first 2 turns of that game.
Listen, we are still going to say it was purely a skill issue, but thank you for trying to clarify that. So I'm actually curious about your thoughts for Miraidon into this next format. How do you feel about the deck? Where is it positioned? What are some good cards to include? Whatever you think is important.
It's interesting. The Terapagos matchup seems pretty scary, and all the random Dusknoir matchups can start to seem scary because they can do random things.
So why is Dusknoir so scary for this deck?
Well, like they can pull off, like in Palkia with Dusknoir, they can pull off random ninja plays at some points. And like
True.
they can do like wiping your board plays, which just destroys the deck.
Which is absolutely earnest, because I guess 130 plus 90, that hits math on almost everything you
Yeah.
put down.
So like it's pretty scary going to the next format, and then like Terapagos having 230, so you have to have the Zapdos down, make sure that it's down at all points. It
But-
does get easier with the Raikou and Area Zero, but then also I don't know. It's an interesting matchup for sure.
I mean, I could believe that, because they need a single energy attachment and to throw a bunch of guys down, which their deck is built to do, whereas Miraidon would still need to hit at least one generator.
Yep, you still need to hit a generator, and like relying on generator now is scary, but then like even more so next format, it's
Listen, I almost played Miraidon to Baltimore and chose not to because I was terrified of just whiffing a few generators and
Yeah.
scooping it on up.
yeah. No, next format's interesting. I don't think Miraidon's gonna be the greatest thing. I
Okay.
think it's still probably in the B tier as it was this past format.
I would say I hate to make you do a tier mark, but is it something you would play to a regional? Is it something you say only if it is your deck you play it, or just don't play it at all?
I mean, if you're really comfortable with the deck, you've been playing it for however long, I would say like if you have very little time to play before your next regional, I just play it.
That
Just
makes
because
sense.
it's if it's your comfort, just play it. But yeah.
How do you feel about that strategy in general of just playing your comfort deck? Is that something you think it's advisable, or any other thoughts?
If you don't have a lot of time to play the game, I think it's probably better because that means you know more of the matchups, more of the lines you need to take in those matchups. And if you're like just picking up a deck, you can't figure out, oh, I need to do this against this matchup, right?
Yes.
Um, so
Which I will say, going into Baltimore, playing about 15 games of Ancient Box leading into it, there was some of that in mind of like, what do I even do
yeah,
here?
yeah,
So, Eli, are you going to Louisville?
I am.
All right. I'm guessing Maridon is not your play right now for it.
Don't think so, but
Okay.
we will see.
Okay. So, what are you thinking could be your play for Louisville?
The Palkia deck that Roth's been playing has been
Okay.
looked pretty interesting.
Well, we were going to talk about that one anyway. Bryce, would you mind throwing up the Palkia Dust Noir? Because I agree, Eli, that is a really interesting deck. And we saw Dust Noir used in your matchup
Yeah.
against Ryan. We didn't really see it used against Jared because Rafal drew very poorly. But it is a powerful card.
Yeah, Dusknoir is just like pretty broken. Just the 130 for one is absurd.
It is wild. And giving up a prize, obviously, it sounds bad, but when you can do it to manipulate Iono, to add or lower energy costs for Blood Moon Ursa Luna, just there's so many advantages to giving up prizes, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, also just is making games faster, right?
Yes.
Like it's speeding up games, so you can see a lot in a lot of decks also they're running lower counts of like main attackers just because of how like much faster you're going through a game with Dusknoir.
Right. You don't need 3 Palkia V-Star because you're giving up 2 prizes with Dust Noir anyway. So if
Yeah.
2 go down, game's over.
Yep.
No, and that makes sense. And how do you feel about that as we're getting parents coming up here? How do you feel about that for the format in general?
I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of the game ending really in 2 turns.
Fair.
The possibility of it ending in 2 turns, which I think is pretty possible now with Briar and everything else.
There's a lot of pieces to accelerate games
Yes.
like to completion.
Yeah,
Totally understandable.
For sure.
So Brian is getting back in here in just a minute. Do we have our next one set up? All right,
Okay.
beautiful. So do you have the list for Bryce? Perfect. So then, Eli, while Brian is doing that, I'm going to ask you one more question before I let you get to your round. I'll make sure you're not late. So with all of this mindset of games are getting shorter, like there's more crazy combinations that can be used to close stuff out, what type of deck do you think is the best into a field like that or into a meta like that? I know it's a hard question to start with.
I mean, like, it's really something you're comfortable with, but then, like, also something that can set up pretty often, almost every game. So something just super consistent.
And consistency is a huge deal, but that makes sense. If you only have 3 turns to play the game, you can't have a lag turn. You have to go.
You need to set up immediately.
Lost Zone Giratina is no longer in the cards for me.
I agree.
Yes. That one is not going to be the move. All right, well, Eli, I will let you get to your next round. Thank you very much for sitting and chatting with us. Anyone you want to shout out?
All of the boys.
All the boys. All right,
All the
beautiful.
boys.
Thank you, Eli. We'll let you go get set up there. Sorry, Michael, I stole Eli. Well, as Brian is getting everything set up, we did mention Miraidon obviously as a big play that people have been considering, and it didn't do as well in Baltimore as I know we were hoping for. But there's always an opportunity for something with that big basic aggressiveness to do well, especially into this kind of 2, 3, 4 turn meta that's going on. So we're going to see a couple other of those big basic decks likely today, like Roaring Moon, Raging Bolt, and then some of the other 2 prizers like Regidrago V-Star, which we already saw, and then Lugia V-Star, which we'll talk about the meta here in a little bit, but we have a ton of V-Star decks right now bouncing around the field. And Brian, can you give us a preview of what our starting matchup is going to be here?
Yeah, so our starting matchup is going to be Colin Merla Matthews playing Reggie Drago, going against Sky De La Cruz playing Lugia V-Star.
Ooh, a deck I love and a deck I
Yes.
freaking hate.
It's the deck that I love.
All right, fair enough, because we have sides
Yeah,
here.
Yes.
All right, so who's favored in this matchup?
Lugia V-Star is
Okay.
favorite in this matchup. As long as you go first, because I played this to a challenge last weekend, and I got Curumed for 4 prizes.
Oh,
And I was not very happy after that game, but I deserved to lose that game.
my goodness. And Lugia V-Star is going first. However, that is the epitome of a Lugia hand if
Yep.
I have ever seen one.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that is 2 V-Star in hand and a Cincino
Yeah.
with an Ultra Ball and a Wordier.
Yep.
It's just going to pass it on over.
Yep.
So on Colin's end, Reggie Drago V-Star has a pretty consistent game plan. We saw it with Jared. You want to get down 1, in this case probably 2 V-Star. You want to get a couple Ogerpon down to
Yep.
start accelerating energy and just set up so you can hit with either a Lost Impact, with a Phantom Dive, whatever it may be, turn 2, trying to clear out your opponent's threats.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like the use of the Cleffa here. I mean, it's an awesome starter. Going second, it's great because you get, your hand full again. And it forces Lugia to, either gust around for 2 prizes or to find a way to get Iron Hands to get the knockout.
And I think Clef is just such a good card in general.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's definitely going to see more play too as we get into the next formats, because like Eli was saying, with the games being shorter,
Yeah.
having something that can buy you a turn is so impactful.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I can also see it kind of going down because of the 30 HP liability going into Dusclops.
True.
Yeah.
That is definitely problematic. All right, and so Colin draws honestly a really good hand off of that. And we do see the jamming tower too. We have another nest ball.
Yep, which I hope gets another Reggie Drago V here.
I think it has to, just
Yeah.
based on the risk of Lugia having the boss knockout.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, I feel like Colin might be able to kind of high roll it a little bit, knowing that all Sky had was attached pass, but I still think that the Reggie Drago V is probably the correct play here.
so I will say, Lugia attached pass either means their hand is horrible
Yeah.
or their hand is perfect.
Yeah.
And there is no in between.
Yeah, there is no in between.
Because for all Colin knows, that Ultra Ball Sky showed has 2 Archeops in hand
Or
that
a
she's going to
Jacques.
go get
Yeah.
with it. Yes, exactly. Or a Jacques to go with
Yeah.
it. And so we do see the other Reggie Drago come down. We do see the jamming tower. We see Mew. We could probably get rid of that Cologne if we really want to.
Yeah, definitely.
But we are just going to see Cleffa for 4, which is still so good. Oh boy, we see
Oh,
Capturing
boy.
Aroma. Is that a
Uh,
Tails?
I think that is a tail. Yeah, that's a tail. So I could grab Luminion Jacques
Which
with Ultra Ball to get 2 Archeops in the discard pile, and now Sky would be rolling.
exactly. Sky just went from this is all horrible to we are absolutely
We are
gaming,
so back.
assuming there is a Luminion in deck, and there is.
There is a Luminion.
And exactly like you called, Brian, we see Luminion for Jacques, for double Archeops, for Ultra Ball, for an attacker or whatever Sky wants, likely a Minchino in this scenario. Or do we go for the Iron Hands?
Yeah, just because I think there is a V-Star in hand already, I could see a play where the Iron Hands comes out here. It's just tough because having the 2 energy cost to get the Lugia out of play or out of the active can be a little tough to work around.
And it really depends on if Sky has an energy in hand,
Yeah.
which going for the Minchino, it looks like no, there is
Yeah,
not.
there is not.
But we see the V-Star turn 2, even with a horrendous hand. And then do we just knock out the Cleffa?
Yeah, I think so. I think Cleffa just being able to take that out of play is a good idea. And I really want to see Mist Energies come down on the Minchino as well. At least one, just so we can block from a potential Phantom Dive.
Yes, absolutely. And do we know, does Colin play the Halucha in his deck?
Colin does play the Halucha in his deck.
So the Halucha is a big deal because we could actually see a Dragapult followed by a Kirin play here.
Yeah, and I really like the way that Sky managed her energies here because putting the V-Guard here also protects the Lugia V-Star from Reggie Drago's copy of Giratina V-Star.
Yes.
Lost Impact.
Absolutely. And so we'll likely see a Phantom Dive if everything goes
Yep.
well for Colin this turn. And so the good news for Colin, too, is with that Clef on the active, he didn't have to give up 2 prizes here.
Yeah, it's definitely nice because now Colin's able to, set up the board a little bit more. And he has Iono in hand as well, so be able to disrupt Sky's hand as well as, get a fresh 6 cards.
Especially because Colin is not currently taking a knockout on a gift energy. Being able to just hit into this Lugia and play Iono does seem really good.
Yeah, definitely.
And does Colin play the Temple of Sinnoh along with that jamming tower?
Nope, just a jamming tower.
Well, that could be problematic for him.
Yes. So what I'm thinking here might be it might just be like a Phantom Dive kind of move here.
And I think Phantom Dive could be really, really good, especially before Sky is able to put any mist energy on her Archeops.
Yes. Just because if you're able to get a Gust like the Prime Catcher or something like that, being able to take out like Archeops and being able to put more damage counters on like something else, like I don't know, like the Luminion or something like that, could also set up like a Kieran play.
Yes, absolutely. And so we see the manual attachment to the Regidrago V-Star. Colin debating on what he's going for. I do not see an Ultra Ball or an out to a Regidrago V-Star in hand, and I think he's just debating, do I research or do I Iono?
And part of me wants to say you Iono here. I feel like you have a lot of important resources in that hand. Like I see a Super Rod in there. I see some other recovery stuff. I feel like the Iono with the disruption is kind of like a good move here.
So it's only 1 card difference, but I would tend to agree. The only issue is if Colin believes that Sky's hand is dead, then he probably doesn't want to give her a new one.
Yeah.
Knowing that she only took a single prize and he's not going to trigger gift energy this turn. So trying to take an Iono hit here, maybe you don't want to risk that and letting her play the game.
Yeah. And even though you're not going to be able to take the full knockout here, being able to set up for a multiple prize knockout the next turn can also be a pretty good idea here.
Agreed. Losing the other Super Rod really is the problem and the boss, but
Yeah.
see what Colin goes with. Do you see the Cologne? Oh, and he is stuck.
Yes, he is.
So Brian, you're saying Iono?
I think Iono. That's just me though.
I think I would probably want to see research here.
Yeah.
But I don't think Iono is bad. And Colin being very careful, because this can be a really impactful decision this
Yeah.
early. And we see the Iono. Sky very quickly shuffling up her hand.
Yep.
I think she's pretty hyped about that.
Yeah.
Because her hand was trash.
Yes.
We do see the out to Regidrago V-Star for Colin. We see a research and an Iron Hands in Sky's hand, so Sky is feeling great.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so then we see the Ultra Ball for the Regidrago V-Star. We also have the Energy Switch, which
Yeah.
is a huge deal.
Super huge because it's able to get it'll be able to get the Regidrago to attack.
Right. And that attack will set up for a Kieran play, I believe, unless you think Colin should go a different route here.
Yeah, I kind of think it depends on if he decides to V-Star this turn, which I don't think he will. But if he were to and, get something like the Prime Catcher, that could definitely be a route to, getting your prizes done a different way.
So the one reason I would say to V-Star here is if Colin doesn't have an easy out to another Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's going to do. Because having to get rid of all of his Super Rods early, he may run out of outs. And it looks like...
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
I'm guessing we're going to see the Iono and then a Super Rod. That's kind of tough because he's not going to be easily able to go back into another Regidrago V-Star. Oh, and we see the Superior. Why do you think he's going with that?
I think it's just for the extra draw power. I mean, if you put more Ogre Pawns onto the bench, you'd be able to get the energies a lot easier to power them up. It can also be a good outlet to power up Radzard as well.
Yes, and that is very true. And Radzard could make an appearance in this matchup.
Yeah, I feel like Radzard is one of the biggest parts about this matchup just because, one prizer that hits for 250, it can take care of stuff like that Luminion and could be really helpful here.
And so we will see the Phantom Dive come down. So another out Colin has here is if he does decide to go a different route, he could try to cure him and knock out the Luminion and the Lugia, but we do see just the hit onto the 2 Archeops. And how do you feel about that decision?
Yeah, I kind of like the 2 Archeops because if you're able to swing a turn where you're able to hit Halucha, you're able to get a Kyurem play on both of those Archeops.
which is extremely strong because then you
Yeah.
limit any of Sky's ability to really reach for one shots later in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, where that third 110 goes, it's like there's a lot of options. Like you can put it on that Lugia V-Star in the active, you can put it on the Chinchino. If you're able to set up more damage onto like Luminion, you can put it on there too. So there's a lot of options here for Colin to move around that damage.
Well, I would say from my perspective, it's going to have to go on that Cincino because
Yeah.
Cincino is how Sky's going to take a knockout here on this Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah, and Sky putting down the Weird Ear also is very important here too, just because it gives her an outlet to get another big knockout.
Yes. All right, so we do see the gift come down on the Word Ear. We will see the Primal Turbo. At least two of these have to go on the Cincino.
Yep.
We see just another Mist come down or another Jet.
Yeah, I feel like the preservation of the mist energies is a really big part about this matchup, just because it's such a big tool to be able to prevent a lot of those damage counters from entering the board.
And Sky's debating putting that Legacy energy down, but goes with another gift just to ensure that she will be able to draw. We see a Mist and another energy come down on the Word Ear, double turbo.
Yeah, the double turbos on the Weird Ear is just so nice because it gives extra damage to it, and in a like state of the game where the Lugia kind of doesn't really want the double turbo from the decreased damage, the Weird Ear loves it.
Yes, because it's still 2 damage. It's just 60
Yeah,
instead of 40
instead of
for
40.
another energy.
Yeah,
All right, we see the professor's research. So Sky is setting up so well here. And do you think Colin's having a little bit of regret for playing that Iono?
it might be. Yeah, I definitely can see it.
All right, so we do see the Cincino go in, Regidrago V-Star get knocked out. Sky goes down to 3 prizes remaining, and Colin's going to have to try to dig to get this knockout. And
Yeah,
it kind of has to be a Kyurem play at this point.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, the fact that Sky had to start the game off with the one prize knockout gives Colin a little bit more time to
Yes.
figure this out because, um, I mean, he's still got some time, so it's not like the end of the world. If anything, it kind of helps him. But yeah, definitely, that deck's starting to get a little thin, so he's gonna have to figure out a way to get these attackers going.
And I think what he's just trying to figure out is what is my game plan? And he's trying to see how do I even discard this Kyurem when I find it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, discarding the Kyurem, and it's pretty much also like trying to get all the pieces I need without discarding too much of my deck because it's starting to get kind of thin.
Well, the other question is, does he have 2 energy switch remaining?
Yeah, that's another thing too.
So he has 1 in hand, and I don't know if I'm seeing 1 in the deck.
I'm not seeing one.
So that's a huge deal then, because giving up 2 more prizes here could kind of seal his fate.
Yeah.
So the thing that Colin, I think, would need to do here is he would need to cure him, and I think he would also need to cure him while gusting up the Wordeer V, because he's going to have to try to find a way to. Oh, we see the
Oh,
Prime
the
Catcher.
Prime Catcher is huge here.
It is. So a way to limit Sky's ability to reach for a one shot, because
Yeah.
right now with that 5 energy on board, another 6, the odds aren't high that Sky could reach for a knockout, but they're definitely possible. All right, and so we have the Prime Catcher. We have at least 1 energy switch. But I think what Colin's saying is we don't have an out to get a Kyurem in the discard. All right, but we see plenty of energy come out at least. So Giratina V-Star is available. And then we'll see from this teal dance.
Ooh, there's the Drago V-Star.
That's a big deal.
Very huge.
And now Colin's debating, do I go in with Radiant Charizard?
Yeah, I feel like Radiant Charizard's going to have to come out eventually. I mean, if you're not able to set up the Drago here, I feel like you need to use like the Prime Catcher to get a Radzard knockout.
Well, Colin's also doing the math, I think, on can he knock out Wordeer V with this Ogerpon EX?
Oh, that's very true.
So if we see 6, 7 energy, that is 30 plus, 7 energy with 4 on the Wordeer and 3 on the Ogerpon, we could definitely see a knockout there. But that would mean that he does not manually attach to the Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah, that's also a tough part too, just because you definitely need to have some sort of energy on the Regidrago before you end this turn, because you're going to need it to finish off the game.
And we do decide to go with the manual attachment. And so what we could see here is the energy switch from Ogerpon EX to the other, still Prime Catcher for a knockout, because we're not going to be able to attack with a Regidrago V-Star this turn.
Yeah.
And so now we will see the E-Switch.
Oh, the E-switch into the Drago.
So I guess we're not seeing an attack this turn. Is Colin just going to go into Halucha? I think Colin checking how many boss's orders are in Sky's discard. And the answer is none.
Yeah, and it's scary because, I mean, Lugia's been playing 4 boss lately.
Yes. Or even 3 boss in an iron bundle.
Yeah.
And however, though, doesn't look like Sky has a boss in hand. Oh, we're
Okay.
going to boss the Wordier. Ah, boss Wordier and go into the Halucha and pass. And we see Ultra Ball. I don't see a boss's orders, do you?
Yeah, I don't see one either.
Well, we see one at the bottom of the deck. We do see the energy come down onto the Wordier V. And I think what Sky is saying is, I'm going to set up.
Ooh, I like the legacy placement here.
Yes. Because now the forced decision is, okay, Colin, do you knock out these 3 single prizers and leave this giant Wordier available? Or do you handle the thing that can one-shot you?
Yeah.
Because we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 energy on that Wordier, minus 40. We're already one-shotting a Regidrago V-Star.
Yes, definitely.
So then, here's what I think has to happen. And Brian, tell me your game plan. I think we have to countercatcher up the Luminion V. I think we have to cure him the Cincino Archeops. And then I think we just have to hope that Sky misses an energy off the
Yeah.
gift.
I think so too.
But that's rough.
It is rough, and it's tough because, you know, when you have all those energies, it could be a little hard to keep up with, but that might be the only way that Colin can keep himself in the game. I think that's Iono too. So
That is. So we found the Iono,
Yeah.
but we don't have the Cure him yet, and that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and I think too that gift will still proc if that Cincino gets knocked out. So
It will. And
Yeah.
Colin's going to be reliant on Sky missing an energy off of
Yeah.
that gift, which Sky thinning a bunch of energy out of her deck, there is a possibility.
yeah,
All right, and we will see the Pheasantipity for 3.
Ooh.
None of those are helpful.
yeah, and it's tough because Colin can't play that research without decking himself out.
No, and to be honest, even thinking through this, Colin isn't going to have the ability to cure him twice.
Yeah,
Or attack if he cure him the first time.
yeah. So I think it's a checkmate almost.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah,
So we see the energy go into deck. Colin just trying not to deck out in this scenario. And then we're likely going to see that Iono.
yeah, the Iono.
This is tough.
Yeah,
So do you have a line where Colin can still win this game?
I'm not really seeing it at the moment unless there's like a play where, not even where you can pick off the Lugia.
No, and Prime Catcher
Yeah.
is the last card for Colin. But yeah, I don't see an out here.
Yeah, I don't see an out here either.
And Sky has boss in hand
Yeah.
anyway, so that is very unfortunate.
Yeah,
And Colin just checking some math here, seeing how much damage we're doing with this Wordier. The answer is a lot, Brian.
yeah. I think it's 280 total on that weird ear at the moment.
Yes, it does seem like it's perfect math. And with
Yeah.
that Cincino in the background being able to reach for one shot too, like Sky's just got game in hand.
Yeah,
And I think Colin has realized this and is just trying to think of a possible out.
yeah. I mean, there's no other one prizer. I mean, I think the Radzard's in the prizes.
That's my guess. Is
Yeah.
Radzard is prized. At least one energy switch seems to be prized.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we're just going to have to see. One thing we could have considered is there was a world where Colin actually put everything on that Pheasantipity,
oh yeah,
and we could have started sniping.
yeah, definitely.
And so I think Colin's just checking, doing some math on how could I have possibly survived this. And
there's
we're
the
just going to
scoop.
scoop it up.
Scooping it
And
up.
yep, Radzard,
Wow, look,
Dragapult,
those are some-
Energy Switch.
Those are some diabolical prizes right there.
Those are not great. So we're going to jump over to our next one. Are we, Bryce? We are jumping over to our next one. So
Yeah.
this one is a very interesting matchup of Charizard versus Raging Bolt. And, Brian, this matchup is going to get a lot weirder come tomorrow.
Yeah.
But right now, who's favored in this
I
matchup?
think Charizard's favored.
I would agree. Charizard is definitely favored here. It is so hard for Raging Bolt to get to a place where it can actually like clear through Charizard before they one-shot them first.
Yeah, definitely. And it gets to the point where like if the Charizard's able to fall behind 2 prizes, I mean you're just able to one-shot everything.
Yes. Which is just so good into so many of
Yeah.
these big basic decks.
Yeah, and then if Charizard's playing Hero's Cape, then it's also like tough to knock that out. Like the Hero's Cape makes stuff like with DeAndre here having it on the Pidgeot very difficult to.
Yeah, 380 is a 6 energy knockout for
Yeah,
Raging Bolt.
definitely.
And even if Trevor reaches that, Charizard just one-shots it.
Yep.
And also, with DeAndre having a Charmeleon down, he just needs a quick search for a Charizard EX, and they're good.
Yeah.
All right, so we will see the Professor Sada try to set up these Raging Bolts on the board, and we'll get a knockout on Duskull for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be enough.
I don't know actually. I
So-
forgot what does that Sandy Shock's attack do?
Oh, it does, I believe it does 20 plus 70 if you have 3 or more energy attached to all of your bros.
Oh, okay.
So if Duskull...
I don't think it has. Does it have a resist?
it
I don't think it does.
does resist fighting.
Oh, it does resist fighting.
But it still does perfect math, doing 60 damage.
Okay.
And now with this Spirit Energy Retrieval, we are going to keep setting up our board, but all DeAndre needs to do is quick search for a Gust.
Yes.
But the question is, does he have any boss's orders available? Because we do see a counter catcher down.
Yeah.
And how many boss's orders does he play?
DeAndre plays. Let's see here. 2 boss.
2 boss. All right, so there is a chance for Trevor that if DeAndre doesn't have the boss's orders, he's going to be able to survive a turn.
Yeah.
And so we see another Teal Dance come down. Draw for turn, or draw for the Teal Dance. And Iono, we already played Sada, so Iono's a little less helpful here. And to be honest, at this point, Trevor's just deck thinning.
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to make it to where DeAndre really needs to work for the final knockout.
Yes. And I do like seeing the Sadas go back into the deck because obviously if Trevor does survive a turn, want to make sure we can draw.
Yep.
And I would love to see a manual attachment come down to one of these Ogre Pawns if he didn't already manually attach.
Yeah.
And we will see that, yep, we'll see the manual attachment come down onto the Ogre Pawn. And then we'll see the
Oh wait,
Iono.
did he play Sada?
Oh,
already?
wait, he did play Sada.
Yeah.
Yep, okay,
right.
perfect. We caught it.
All right,
DeAndre caught
cool.
it. We are good.
All right.
Crisis averted.
Crisis
Excellent.
averted.
But then for Trevor, I think we'll just see the knockout on the Duskull.
Yeah. That just might be the way to go here.
Yeah, and I
Well,
think that's all he's got. So we'll see. Does DeAndre have the gust to win the game? Well, Sinnoh ain't it.
Let's see what's in that discard pile.
We see a Thornton. We see a boss. We see 2 bosses' orders in
Ooh.
the discard. Ooh. So is there any other Gust, Iron Bundle, anything else in DeAndre's list that he could use here?
No, I don't think so.
So
I think the only other way he would have been able to get out of that is if he were to use like Dusclops to like lower.
the Dust Noir to pop and
Yeah.
then use another counter catcher?
Yeah, that might have been the only way to
Well,
get around it.
Trevor making a very heads-up play by gusting up and knocking out that
Yeah.
Duskull limits that for DeAndre.
Yeah. It was very heads up, and it was also a coin flip.
Well, that is
yeah.
that is not my intention.
Yes.
But yes, good call, Brian. All right, so Trevor's able to take the knockout, put himself in a winning position at this point, because DeAndre's going to have to try to go into a Radiant Charizard or something.
Yeah.
But that Iono seems pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
So then if you are DeAndre, what's the move here?
Oh,
Putting down
yeah,
another Duskull seems
Duskull.
pretty good.
yeah, I think you might need to just disrupt and hope that Trevor's not able to get like the final thing, because I mean, there's a lot of energy on the board, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is that Pheasantipity's still around too, so Trevor definitely has an out.
Pheasantipity is if DeAndre decides
Yeah.
to take a knockout, because there's not really a need to at this point, unless he's able to do so with a single prizer.
Yeah. Oh, is that boss?
Oh, we see a boss
that
in
boss?
a
Oh, yeah.
Professor Sada, so
Oh, wow.
we could be okay here. All right, we see the retreat into the Charmeleon.
Oh, does the Charmeleon? The Charmeleon doesn't knock this out, right?
It certainly does not.
Yeah.
No, we're just gonna go straight back into the Duskull and pass the turn.
Yep.
Oh, we see a shoe. Do we see an energy? Pokegear isn't it?
I think he just.
Yeah, we want to see the next one. Is it an energy?
Oh.
Oh, is there energy in deck?
Oh, there's
yes,
energy
there
in deck.
is. So then we can just retreat, boss, and just close out the game here.
All right, we're gonna see. There's the retreat.
Yep, we got a little
Come
slow
on.
motion for a
Yeah.
second. We're gonna retreat, go into the Raging Bolt, and this is just where we see the boss's orders. And that is
Yep.
more than enough energy to take the knockout
Yep,
here.
little style.
Yes, little flex. Oh, and the
Yeah.
last counter catcher was
Yeah.
prized too. So, Trevor, Raging Bolt taking down a horrible matchup in
Yeah.
Charizard.
Definitely. I mean, and being able to know like what resources have been used and take advantage of it, and utilizing the Sandy Shocks is also huge too.
Yeah, it's the one prize attacker that Raging Bolt uses to address these exact situations. Now,
Yeah.
granted, if we look ahead of format, Trevor doesn't need to get the Duskull there. Trevor can just go after the Charizard itself with that Ogerpon, Briar, game over.
3 prizes.
3 prizes.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Briar, this is one of the Raging Bolt lists that had done really well recently online, and Briar is a key piece of this. So, Brian, what does Briar do?
So when your opponent's on 2 prizes, I'm pretty sure that's when you can put that card into play.
Correct.
And what it does is your Terra Pokemon, when taking a knockout, will take an extra prize.
Yes.
So this enables a lot of stuff. So Ogerpon can take like 3 prize turns on Charizard. Like it really hurts Radiant Charizard because a lot of people like try to use it to offset the prize trade, but now you can just take 2 prizes off of it.
Right.
So and like take game off of that. So there's a lot of things that Briar really enables, and it makes Raging Bolt. It's still a linear deck, but it's got a lot more that you can play around now.
Well, and I would
Yeah.
say it doesn't even so much add other lines to Raging Bolt. What it does is it reduces opponents' lines into Raging Bolt.
Yeah, that's probably a
Because-
better way to say it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it lets you just skip ahead a turn with, like you said, they can't go into Radiant Charizard when they have
Yeah.
2 prizes remaining. They can't go into some other try to single prizer. They can't try to gust up something to stall. Like, you're going to be able to take that bonus prize
Mhm.
with your Ogerpon. The one thing against Raging Bolt for this is you cannot use Briar and take a knockout with Raging Bolt. It
Yeah.
has to be with Teal Mask Ogerpon.
Yep, it has to. But I mean, Teal Mask Ogerpon has been a pretty good attacker lately. Like, pretty easy to get online. I mean, if you were to utilize stuff like, I mean, with the Teal Dance, like if this was to play like E-Switch, like there's a lot of easy ways to get it online and
Yeah.
to be able to use it like right away.
And in a lot of matchups for Teal Mask for even Regidrago, like you want to use it first into something like Ancient Box.
Mhm.
Like it's an excellent attacker, even if you don't want to try to go into your V-Star. So this, I think, is a good place to take a little bit of a break. So we're going to go take a breather. We're going to give you guys a little bit to take a chance to run to the bathroom, do it, to grab a drink, whatever you need to do. And then we'll be back in just a few minutes with round 3 here at Nerd Rage Gaming. Welcome back, everyone, to round 3 of the Nerd Rage Gaming League Challenge. We are back with kind of a matchup we saw recently, just mixed
Yeah.
around. We got Lugia, and we have Regidrago V-Star. And Kat in the chat, we have 6 rounds tonight, I believe, or do we have 5?
I don't. Oh, it is
5? We
5
have
now.
5
Yeah, it's
rounds
5
tonight.
officially now.
Typically, for locals, we'll have 4 rounds, but because it's a challenge, we're going based on what Tom, the software, tells us. So getting to the game, we have Adam here playing Lugia V-Star, and that was a squawkabilly I saw. So what do you
Yeah.
think Adam's trying to go for?
Definitely just a little bit of early game draw. I think every Lugia player here is playing Kieran's list, so it's got.
I mean, it's a good
yeah,
list.
It's a good list.
Just so those know, Brian is talking about Kieran Farah, who got 2nd place at
Yeah,
Baltimore Regional.
Regionals.
Unfortunately, knocked our own Rafal Gladitz out of top 8 in that last round. So still love you, Kieran. But we are getting to see Adam really pop off here with this. And ditching the 2nd Lugia V, I think that actually seems really good.
Yeah, definitely. So the start here isn't really the greatest. I don't think I saw an Archeops getting discarded here.
We did not see that, but we do have plenty of draw cards in hand. And
Yes.
Kat, we would have loved to have you out here, but we will definitely be here next Thursday, so you are welcome to come hang. And at least you get paid for overtime. We'll
Yeah.
call that a win.
A lot of employers aren't giving OT out these days.
I know, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, so Brian, what is Michael trying to do on his turn 1?
Yeah, so similar to what Colin was trying to do last time, which is, get the squawk out, get some more draw, get your dragons in the discard, get the ogre pawns started to get set up, and they can move the energies from the ogre pawns into the Regidrago and start attacking from there.
And you know what? That's all system. Olive, I didn't even see you, otherwise I
Yeah.
would have. But we do see him get that Regidrago V down, and in this case, with that Lugia V in the active, Michael's got to assume that active Drago V is going to bite the dust if
Yeah.
an attack gets off.
And then how many of the NRG players are going to Louisville, Dan?
I think pretty much all of us.
Yeah,
I think almost everyone. So, Sharper, if you're there,
Yeah.
we'll see you there.
yeah.
And so, yes, bringing the mouse tonight would have not been the move. So, Michael, getting that Regidrago V, still searching through his prizes, and oh, please, we will actually have a bunch of spots opening up for the Cup. Zeke, when are spots opening up for the Cup?
Oh,
There
end
will
of the
be
night.
at least 10 spots open by the end of the night tonight. So, Kat and everyone else, pay attention. We'll put out a post once they open up, and we can always have walk-ins if some people don't show up. And so now, going back to Michael's hand, he just discarded 2 boss's orders.
Yeah, and discarding 2 boss isn't really the biggest deal in the world because your Legacy Star can recover at least one of them.
True. And if you don't need to rely on Legacy Star for other pieces, that's just fine.
Yeah.
All right, so getting that Squawk, going to burn the rest of his hand down on the ground, and Squawk is just such an important card in the format right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's got so much power on turn 1. You'd be able to, ditch the whole hand, get 6 more cards.
And so it's kind of a reprint of Dedenne GX, a
Mhm.
card from back in the day.
Yeah.
That did a very similar effect where when you played it down from your hand, you can discard your hand and draw 6 cards. For Dedenne, you could do it whenever once per turn. Luckily, Squawk is just once
Yeah.
and only once.
And was the Dene on play, or could you nest ball into it?
No, you had to play it from hand,
From
similar
hand,
to
okay.
Luminion V or Crobat V,
Oh, okay,
but
good to know.
gosh, so glad that thing is gone. And Olive,
Yeah.
just come back more often. But we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
All right, so we do see the Earthen Vessel. We see nest balls available to go get Ogrepon, Teal Mask Ogrepon. So even though Michael's in a disadvantage starting the Drago V into Lugia, it seems like he's going to set up a pretty strong board.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, any of these Pokemon on the current board here would kind of be bad to start just because Lugia can easily take care of them.
Right.
But Michael's definitely able to, make a good case for him and be able to get most of the stuff that he needs.
And that's kind of the best he can do here.
Yeah.
So for Regidrago V-Star, when you're going into Lugia, either you want to kind of pop off and run them off the board, or the next best thing is just try to steal a turn late. And so although Colin did not play Temple of Sinnoh, Michael does. And Temple of Sinnoh is huge in this matchup later in the game.
Yeah, and I feel like since Lugia is not really one of the better matchups for Regidrago, being able to have at least one card that can kind of respect Lugia is important to have in the deck.
That is the nicest way to say that this matchup is atrocious.
Yes.
It is horrendous. But we see Michael still trying to do his best. Teal Dance there to get an energy down. We have an Ultra Ball. We have Regidrago V-Star. And I think Michael is just debating, do I go for another Ogerpon, but declining to do so.
Yeah, so I'm wondering now how Adam is going to approach this turn here.
And a heads is what he wanted to see, I believe.
Oh, does he need to?
Oh,
Okay.
Bryce, can you let him know to use
Yeah.
Pokemon Die? Okay, perfect. We'll allow them to decide whether or not they want to allow it, since obviously we're playing for funny. But going forward, can you tell them to?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Got that aligned. So Adam digging into his deck for an evolution Pokemon. Did he have a way to discard in hand?
I don't think so. He has Iono in hand.
Okay, so that's less than ideal. But
Yeah.
at least he can get the V-Star here.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think he has V-Star in hand already.
does he?
Oh, no, I don't see it there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we do have Jacques,
Interesting.
so that can get V-Star and Archeops. Don't tell me we're about to read the wind.
I don't think so. I don't think Read the Wind is a good idea here just because that's the only Lugia V that we have at play right now.
Right, and Iono would have had to have been better than reading the wind here, correct?
Yeah, I think the way he wants to do this is... Oh, wait, he can't play Iono anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do attach the mist. And we'll read the
Ooh,
wind.
Read the Wind. Ooh, this is not good.
That is not. So why do you think Adam took that line?
So I think just because when you're not able to get the initial, double chops play, you want to be able to at least discard, at least something off of it and draw some cards. But it only works well when you have a second Lugia V to play off of.
True.
Yeah, so not being able to do it with that makes it a lot more difficult.
I know, missing the Ultra Ball, the out to draw. This is the Lugia I know and love.
Yes.
Where when I play against it, they always have it.
They always have it.
But this is the reason why I don't want to play this deck to major events, is because stuff like this just happens. You just brick.
Yeah, it's definitely happened. I mean, the last time I played Lugia to a major event, I played it to Peoria, and I didn't get the summoning star till round 3.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Okay, so that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's not great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for Adam's sake here, Michael hasn't seen an energy switch yet.
Yeah, so it's definitely it's gonna make Michael's gonna really have to work for it. He's gonna have to V-Star, he's gonna have to search, he's gonna have to do everything else here just to be able to, get his attacker going.
Well, we did just.
Oh.
Oh, no, we have 2 E-switch
He's
in
2
hand.
E
We
switch in
are.
hand. Okay.
We are doing great. But we don't have a way to knock out this Lugia V.
Yeah.
And so now, if you're Michael, do you dig for the Giratina V-Star?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw Michael's first play was to discard. He used Ultra Ball to discard another Ultra Ball and something else. I don't know if maybe you keep the other Ultra Ball, but I think he's got another one in hand.
So the last remaining card in hand was a Professor's Research.
Oh, okay.
So we did have to keep those.
Yeah.
All right, see the draw for turn. Well, for what it's worth, Adam's going to get to Summoning Star here.
Yeah, definitely. He'll be able to Summoning Star, but I think the big thing here, though, is that with this play here, Michael can set up the dreaded Kirim play.
That is true, yes.
For 4 prizes.
Which is very problematic.
Yes.
And B, this is Shrouded Fable. Stellar Crown will be legal as of tomorrow. So for our cup on Sunday, it is Stellar Crown legal. Just today, last day of the format, essentially. So trying to close it out with a good event.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, so we do see a Professor's Research in hand, likely gotten off of that Read the Wind. I would love to see Adam attach the Legacy Energy
Yes,
here.
because, one less prize, really huge here.
It is immense because it allows much more flexibility with his attackers going forward. Unless Adam has a way to move into this Wordeer and one-shot the V-Star.
Ooh, if he's able to get that, the math is a little complicated for that one, I think.
Well, he would need 6 energy on there. And right now we would have 3. We have a Jet Energy in hand. Brian, I actually love that Wordeer play.
Yeah, I do too. Just because you can use those Archeops to get the double turbos in play and then jet up into the active.
For sure. And 1 pound, yes, the League Cup on Sunday will be streamed. We will be starting at 11. Let's be honest with ourselves, probably like 11:10.
Yeah.
Once we get everyone going. And we're going to be starting right about the time Dortmund and other regionals are going to be ending. So it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and we're going to have an awesome guest. Uh,
Commentator?
yeah, guest commentator
Yes.
also. So we'll
And
have a
she
fun
is
time.
in the building, so we'll likely have her check in at some point tonight.
Yeah.
All right, and so we did draw an extra card. We're just gonna Michael being a class act and
Yeah.
saying like, whatever, dude. I know you're about to primal
Yeah.
turbo. For those watching at home, it is always okay to call a judge in those scenarios, and it's also okay to not if you do want to play it out and be chill about it. But never feel like you can't call a judge if something that comes up.
Yeah, definitely.
And now Adam seems to be regretting not going for the
The weird ear play.
weird ears. But to be honest, I would have liked to see that more anyway.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a way to take out the big attacker with all the energy on there, it's generally like a really good move to do. Even if you have to gamble with it and use up a lot of your resources in order to make that play, but in this instance, I think it would have been like the worth play.
Exactly, because then Michael would have had to burn the V Star in order to get that knockout or even just to have another attack. So
Yeah,
with that V Star staying in play, the Tempest Dive isn't actually bad here because Adam can certainly catch up, especially if Michael only takes 2 prizes here. But it's probably going to be a 3 prize swing.
yeah, and the tough thing about it too is that the attacker's still here, but Adam doesn't have a way to capitalize on this and like take extra prizes the next turn. Like,
Right.
since the legacy energy is on the active Lugia, it's not able to take 3 prizes. I mean, he only loses 1 prize on the Lugia V-Star, but still, it's like there's no way to really further your board state farther than what it is right now.
Right. So one advantage Adam will have though is if Michael does take this knockout, Adam will be able to Iono and then take a one shot on this Regidrago V-Star with basically anything on his board.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see a world where maybe the Speedwing cleans it up.
It could.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, with the legacy energy coming down the Lugia, we're not going to be able to do something like Iron Hands for 3 or something crazy.
That's what like you can. That was definitely one of the ways I was thinking. It's like, oh, if you're able to take 3 prizes, maybe it's not as bad. But it's not. I don't think it's gonna happen. It's not gonna be able to.
No, and
Yeah.
so we're going to see Michael. It looks like he may just take a knockout and hold the hand. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I mean, being able to preserve the V Star is really huge here.
And we are going for the knockout and then split to try to take 4 prizes with a Curum play. And so Michael going down to 5 prizes only because of the single prize knockout on the Lugia V-Star.
Yep.
And Adam debating what route to take here. I actually think this is fine. Go
Yeah.
into the Cinccino. If you decide to attack with something else, you're still fine to just retreat it.
Yeah, and I mean he's got an out to get the Cinccino into play anyways. Maybe if I didn't know that Cinccino was like gonna be able to be drawn, maybe I would have started the Archeops, but
True.
not the worst thing in the world.
No, not at all. And to be honest, I would kind of like to see a Minccino setup and then a knockout on this benched Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think if you keep this damaged one around and put yourself in a position where Michael using Curum would be catastrophic rather than helpful, I mean, we could still see Adam sweep this game.
Yeah, definitely. So it would be a good idea to have all of that go down. I'm trying to see what he's sort of thinking now.
So we have Word Ear in hand.
Yeah.
We have a boss's orders in hand, I believe. And I think he's just debating what to attach to the Cinccino. And a V-Guard energy is a incredible attachment there because it would prevent the Curum from being able to one-shot it.
Yeah, definitely. The Curum would be huge here.
And Michael does play the Halucha, so there is also an alternate plan to put a V-Guard energy on the Archeops,
Yep.
which he does. And I think that's, oh, well, actually, that makes a lot of sense, too.
Yeah.
Because 110, 80, we are not going to be one-shotting that Squawk ability with Curum. So, yeah, Adam's still in a fine position, even with some issues. But I do want to see that boss.
Yeah, definitely. And either way, as long as he's able to take care of those Regidragos, there's definitely a world where he's able to clean up with Blood Moon Ursaluna on one of those more frail 2 prizers.
Yes. All right, and so do we think Adam's going to play the boss here?
Oh, you just see the knockout here.
No. Why do you think he took that route?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he wants to preserve the boss.
Oh, Michael,
Oh.
collect your cards. So I give Michael a lot of crap. Michael is an incredibly strong player on DDG.
Yes.
Used to be on the Nerd Rage gaming team, so extremely happy for him that he's had so much success in the game.
Yeah, and I
So-
mean, in his first season as a master. I think he got like a crazy placement in Pittsburgh. Like I think he was like top 32 or something like that.
His first regional as a master, he got 11th. Just
11th.
absolutely insane,
Yeah.
incredibly strong player. And honestly, we
Yeah.
have so many good players here. It is extremely frustrating because it is
I know.
very hard to win
It
anything.
is very hard to win anything. And I mean, we can't even ignore the fact that he got top 8 at Worlds this
Right,
year.
exactly.
First season as a master, crazy to think.
Wild. And he's going
Yeah.
to be successful for a long time if he keeps playing the game.
Yeah.
All right, so we do see him nest ball out that Pheasantipity, which is such a strong card, especially in big decks like this.
Yeah.
And so we see that flip the script. So if you're Michael, what is your game plan here? Do you get the Curum playoff? Do you try to do something different?
I think you do get the Curum playoff because, as you see, like if Michael's able to knock out like the 2 chops and get the Chinchino out of play, I mean, Adam's got no more attacker.
Right. And that is a big problem, which that's why the V-Guard placement on the Squawk does save prizes, but like you said, then he's just got a Squawk on board.
Yeah.
And so even using Wordier to go in and try to hit into this Regidrago, it's only going to do like 80 damage.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is, you still need to find the Curum. So
Yes. Well, and one thing to note too, if Adam had decided to gust up that clean Regidrago, even going into a Curum with 2 or a Wordier Veer with 2 energy would have knocked out the remaining Regidrago
yeah,
V-Star.
definitely. There's
So
a lot of ways to thin the hand here too. So Michael can definitely find a way to find this Curum.
yes, and he only needs to find 1 energy switch in order to attack, not to get Curum per se, but at least an attack off.
Yes.
No, and it'll be awesome to have you here, Kat. Honestly, we have another player, Josh. Thank you for sending a guy our way. Another player who's pretty new, playing his first major tournament today. And honestly, I love it.
Yeah.
There's such a fun, open community. It's so exciting to get to add new people to it.
Yeah, even though it can definitely get really competitive here, it's good learning. I mean, I definitely learned a lot playing here.
Yes.
And this was one of the first stores I started playing at, so
And I feel
Yeah.
like the best way to be competitive is to still be kind and have fun with it because we're playing a game with shiny monsters, man.
yeah.
Come on.
I know.
But obviously, I still want to win.
Yes.
All right, so Michael, getting that Curum in the discard, what else is he trying to do this turn?
I think he's trying to just get rid of that Curum, which he is going to do with that Earthen Vessel. So, I wonder what he's going to go for here now.
I think he's just debating the research.
Yeah.
And, well, I guess he has 2 research.
Yeah.
But really debating whether or not to play the Super Rod first before the research. And do you think there is stuff he wants to save?
Maybe the energies. I think that's probably why he's thinking about it. It's because, like, do you put those energies back in the deck?
And I don't think it
Yeah.
hurts. I think the only thing he was debating is there ever a world I get another Regidrago V-Star? But
Yeah.
probably not, since I don't know if this one's getting knocked out.
Yeah.
The only thing Adam can do is go in with Blood Moon Ursaluna and Iono, but really for Michael, all he would need to do is get rid of a Lost Zone or a Giratina V-Star, and Michael hasn't used his V-Star yet.
Yeah. And I think there's a Giratina in the discard already.
Is there already one gone?
I
Well,
want to say there is.
then that is a big problem.
Yeah.
Unless he's able to attach a gift energy to it. Oh, and with that
Prime
Prime
Catcher,
Catcher.
too.
which to be honest isn't that impactful right now because Michael's likely going to sweep the board, but still, this is kind of tough. And he did not see an energy switch, so if we are
Yeah.
going to get the attack off, we're going to have to use our V-Star.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's no harm in using the V-Star now. I know you want to hold on to it just because you can recover stuff now, but like I feel like you need to use it just so you can further your game plan here.
So one thing Michael could choose to do, oh, and I guess one thing that's another key piece, Michael has not seen Halucha
Yeah,
yet. Oh,
Halucha.
Champ, you and I
Yeah.
are in the exact same page.
Yep.
And we do need to see that Halucha before we're able to take a
Yeah.
board wipe turn. So how do you think Michael tries to dig? Because we've used a supporter, we've used Fez, we've used both Ogre Pawns. I don't know what else we got.
V-Star.
It's going to have to be the
Yeah, It's
V-Star.
gonna have to be V-Star.
And so we're going to have to hit that Halucha off the V-Star, get it back, and then find a way to try to fill the deck so we can actually get another attack next turn.
Yeah, and Kat, to answer your question, it kind of just depends. Like if usually a lot of players like to hold the V-Star until they really, really need it, but sometimes you kind of need it in order to progress further.
And I think the advice is hold it until you absolutely need it, because
Yeah.
otherwise, It's a precious, precious resource you can't get back.
Yeah.
And we do see the Halucha, and we see an E-switch. That's what Michael needs, but basically going to be at a standstill after that. All right, so we see the Halucha ping, the E-switch.
E-switch, and then probably the Kyurem here.
And that would be my guess, because it's the attack that's going to wipe the board for Michael, clear out all of the attackers for Adam. Adam will be able to draw until he has 7 in hand.
I think he has more already.
Hey, he probably already has more
Yeah,
than 7.
he's
All
got
right.
a lot in hand. And I think you kind of need to gust and use Ursaluna here.
You can, and I think gusting with Ursaluna is definitely valuable. Part of me wants to Iono as well, but to be honest, I don't think Michael's going to be able to attack with anything other than an Ogre Pawn anyway.
Yeah. That's why I feel like being able to get the gust off, I think he has it in hand.
He does, and
Yeah.
with the double turbo energy in hand, Adam will be able to go into that Blood Moon and gust up the Ogre Pawn, knock it out, and say, Michael, what you got, man?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, to be clear, Michael has Radiant Charizard.
Yes, Michael does have Radiant Charizard, but at the same time, Ursaluna has 260 HP,
It does.
while Radzard only hits for 250.
And there is an out for Adam to have another basic Pokemon. Well, not right there. To use a Jet Energy to switch out.
Yeah, and it was funny. I actually won a game against Regidrago last weekend with that play. I got my whole board cleared out besides 2 Archeops. I used Speedwing to take a knockout on a Regidrago, and then
Love it.
and then I used Ursaluna and then Jet Ursaluna to finish the game off. So
Fantastic.
yeah, it's
we'll
such a very, very versatile card.
It is. So we see the retreat into Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Yep.
And we got to see the boss on that Ogre Pawn, I think.
Ooh.
Oh. What do you think about that play, Brian?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think Adam's trying to just stall it out a little bit just because oh, dang.
Yeah. And see, that's with the gust on the Ogre Pawn knockout, Adam would have prevented Michael from having an
Yeah.
attacking threat, but by leaving that Ogre Pawn around, he gave Michael an out to still win the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, even with rough go there, Adam was in a position to win.
Yeah, he definitely has been. So it's definitely an interesting thing, and they're definitely chopping it up and telling and Michael's definitely telling him how he could have won that
Yes,
game.
exactly.
Because every time he beats me, he's definitely done the same for me. So
Which I appreciate. And
Yeah.
Bryce, do we have a second game right now?
the
right.
other game is done.
The other game is done. That is fine. So what we're going to do here, and I agree, Word Deer would have been the move. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go check with Michael or Adam, see if one of them's interested in coming in to chat and give
Yeah.
us some thoughts on that round. So, Brian, keep talking to the people about this matchup, and I will grab people for you to talk
Yeah,
to.
definitely. I was really hoping that we would have the other game on there because the second game we had my friend Nikita on there, and he's actually playing my deck, so I wanted to shout him out. But yeah, we got a very interesting crowd here. Oh, and Michael's coming up over here.
I still think he still has to have boss and a retreat for
True, yes.
All right, Michael, how are you today?
Good.
Good. So, great match here. You were able to take the dub against Lugia. So what were the main things that you were sort of looking to, and how did you kind of take advantage of some of the situations that were going on this game?
So he obviously had a pretty slow start, so I definitely benefited from that. I prized my Tina, which would
Yeah.
have let me kill his only Lugia,
Yeah.
but I still was in a pretty good spot.
Mhm.
I prized my fire, so I got in like a really awkward spot in like the mid game where I had
Yeah.
already burned a rod and I drew into my
Mhm.
other rod and my superior.
Yeah.
And only played 2 fire. So I wanted to like maximize that, but not getting in the attach that turn meant that I was reliant on the E-switch and would have to, and if I whiffed the E-switch, which it was over 50% to draw it, but I mean, that's not like that high.
Yeah.
So when I whiffed the E-switch, that kind of punished me for not playing the superior to just get the 1 grass on. But I think overall, I was in a fine spot, and I think even if he had played the boss on my Ogre Pawn there, which meant I couldn't attack, because I discarded my
Yeah.
Radzard, I think I would have been fine, just because it's not very high. I mean, if he finds Jet Luminion off my Iono to 2, then he has that, but
Yeah.
he was like down double Jet already, so even if he does kill my Ogre Pawn that's threatening game that turn, I think I'm still favored to win
Yeah.
just because I have Iono Sin. I mean, oh wait, I had Sinnoh. Sinnoh was my
Yeah.
last card in deck, so I could go Iono Sinnoh.
Okay.
So off of that, he would have to find. I mean, it's really lucky that Sinnoh was my last card in deck in that situation. But either way, he would have to find. Well, I mean, actually, Radzard would have been a better card in theory,
Yeah.
but either way, he would have to find Sinnoh and or no, he would have to find Stadium Bump, Jet, and a boss. Off
Yeah.
Of that.
So a big thing that we were talking about was Adam's first attack. He instead of he punched into your Drago, but he also could have used the Weird Ear play. If he were to go for that Weird Ear play and take out your Drago with all the energy on there, how do you think you would have responded?
So was that my only Drago in play at the time?
No, you had another V in play, but there was no energy on it.
So I think what we talked about is if he did have to do that, he wouldn't have been able to attach the legacy that he had to research
Yeah.
away. So I think if he does that, I'm in a fine spot to just win the prize trade. I
Yeah.
still have my Sinnoh. It's definitely it puts a little bit of a stressor more on my resources, but him not having access to legacy is like a pretty big deal in terms of prize trade. Because like, if I didn't swing into the Lugia with the legacy, like if he didn't have the legacy, I just would have won the prize trade naturally.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you had an awesome first season as a master. So going into this season, I mean, it's kind of hard to outdo a top 8 at Worlds. Like, what are some of your goals going into this next season, do you think?
I want to try to top cut 2 majors if
Okay.
possible. I day 2'd in Baltimore, but I started 9-2, but
Yeah.
I was not able to win I lost both my last 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So I'd like to also get a better IC placement because my ICs were pretty poor the
Yeah.
last year. So just overall improve my average finishes. And then
Yeah.
like one thing as like personally, I want to make sure that I just am putting more effort into like practicing for tournaments. Because like last year, I would like go to a lot of tournaments,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't necessarily put in the effort to grind for those tournaments like I should have been.
Yeah, definitely. So we do actually have a lot of newer players that are in this chat today. What would be like one thing you would recommend for them to help practice more or to just, learn more about the game?
Honestly, the biggest thing is like committing your time to it because
Yeah.
there are some shortcuts, but the biggest thing is just to like play games with your deck. I mean, ladder is like on PTCG Live, if you can get the Arceus rank, like
Yeah.
ladder is honestly like super helpful just to like get better in your deck.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. So I think that's everything we got. We'll give you a few minutes to rest up and get ready for your next round.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and so we have a Regidrago deck here on. Yeah, you're good. I'll take that. We have another Regidrago deck here on the screen here, so we'll just go over this real quick. I think this is a little different than what Michael was playing today, but kind of like your standard foundation that you have here. So 3/3 Drago line, Ogre Pawns, Dragapult. I think a lot of lists have been going down on the Dragapult just so you can make room for some more other stuff here. And Rob, welcome to the stream.
Hello, I was on stream round 1. It was
Yeah,
terrible. It was a bad
yeah.
time.
Yeah, not too good. But how's the rest of the night been so far?
It's been good. I'm 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
As Palkia, you really want to go first?
Yeah, you definitely want to go
Especially
first.
against something like Drago that like turn 2, they're off to the races. So
Yeah.
I hit another Drago, went second again. But that one had a Drago start, so they had like all their energy switches. Turn 1 and just passed, and I was like, all right, we get to play the game.
Yeah, we get to play the game.
And then I hit an Iron Thorns, which on paper sounds bad, but the Greninja EX is just really funny because it's a fighting type. So
Oh
just
yeah.
evolve your Froakie and just bonk the.
Yeah. One energy cost does 170, and then it has
Yeah.
weakness too.
Yeah, they have
and
to,
you
like,
get to search a
three
card.
Yeah, and they like 3-shot it. They can't do anything about it once you evolve it.
Yeah.
So it's Palkia Dusknoir. It's like basically the 9th place from Baltimore because unfortunately we can't play Terrapagos till tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just playing like the Pokestop build. It's very fun.
Yeah, I've been telling everybody that too. Like I've been playing that deck like the entire week, and it's just been such a fun deck to play. It's definitely a little different, so it's
Yeah.
fun to play.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend anyone just like give it a shot. There's like you learn a lot playing it because there's like so many little tricky things you can do. So it's a lot of fun. But then like going second against certain decks is like, I really hope they brick.
Yeah.
Like a Drago or like a Dragapult. Like if you just like go second and then they start attacking turn 2, you're in a pretty rough spot. But
Yeah.
has a lot of cool things it can do. For anyone who didn't notice, we did post our new YouTube link in the chat.
Oh yeah, star of the show, star of the first video here.
Yeah, me and Dan made a little video going over my run in Baltimore. I got 34th place with Roaring Moon. So
Yeah.
let's kind of talk about the run, talk about the list. we're
It's just good
gonna-
conversation.
yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
We're just gonna try out a lot of different stuff, a lot of different content, like vlogs, interviews, deck profiles, VOD reviews, all sorts of stuff. Just kind of see how it goes, get people more involved with the energy community. I see a lot of people viewing right now. I'd say if you're interested in kind of seeing how our stuff's gonna go in the future, feel free to hit that link, give us a subscribe, just to be up to date to the stuff we're gonna be kind of throwing out in the next coming months.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think we have a lot of stuff kind of planned too. Like, we had something like we were talking about, like the IRL content, and then there's also like some tabletop stuff too. So, be able to show off some new decks. Talk about like how to play some decks too. The deck profiles are super helpful too. So like, if anybody's interested in playing Roaring Moon, you can definitely see how Ralph here was able to pilot the deck.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And for anyone, I'm sure you guys have mentioned it, but we do have our cup coming up on Sunday, so
Yeah.
we have a lot of cool stuff coming up soon.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff getting posted on our YouTube, on our Twitch. So if you want to be up to date, subscribe to the YouTube. Follow
Yeah,
the
look
Twitch.
at that. Sub 26 cat. Shout out
Thank
to you, Cat.
so much. Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm assuming Dan's getting the next pair. of
Yeah, I
these.
think he is. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just cut to a quick 2-minute break here while we're getting the next round set up here. And we will see you guys in a little bit.
Welcome back, everyone, to round 4 of the Nerd Rage Gaming League Challenge. We are back with Ryan playing his really cool Bayonet deck against Christian Jr., the king, playing
Okay.
Charizard.
Yeah.
So what is this matchup like?
So this one's an interesting one too because, Charizard very reliant on items, but is able to hit Banette for weakness.
Mhm.
So it's really like who can control the board better. So it's kind of like a chess match in a way where it's like which deck's able to sort of come online a little bit faster and who's able to take advantage of those pieces.
And going first is an enormously important thing for Ryan
Yes.
because if he's not able to item lock ASAP and Christian evolves up a Charizard, that's not good.
Yeah, definitely. So Christian has ways around it where you're able to evolve without using rare candy. So if you're able to naturally evolve into the Charizard, you're able to get around that. But still, like item lock is a huge way to get around, Charizard's like speed. So a lot of things that he can do here, and the Dusknoir line also really helps here too.
It does. And Ryan just discarded a Salvatore, which, Brian, do you know what Salvatore
I
does?
don't know what Salvatore
I
does.
will gladly tell you all what Salvatore does.
Okay, go ahead.
If anyone played back in the day with a card called Wally, Salvatore is very similar. It says it is a supporter, and during your turn, you may search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from a Pokemon on your board and put it onto that Pokemon. You can use this card during your first turn going second or any turn that Pokemon was put into play.
Oh, wow.
So you could slap down the Shuppet. You could Salvatore into Bayonet EX and immediately item lock. So if Christian Jr. had in fact gone first, Ryan would have had the item lock turn 1 going back into
Wow.
Christian's turn. Now, luckily for Ryan, he doesn't have stress about that.
Yeah.
He can just squawkabilly here straight into that Bayonet EX. But, oh yes, and correct, the Pokemon you are evolving into cannot have an ability. Thank goodness.
Yes.
Because I would not want to Salvatore into Lugia V-Star
Or-
and just cry. All right, so we will see Ryan go down, get a couple Duskull down, another Shuppet down, a Squawk, and man, Ryan's board looks set up here.
Yeah, it's kind of sick here. He's got a lot to work with here, so I wonder how Christian's going to respond here.
He's going to pray that he finds a Charmeleon very quickly. And
Yeah.
yes, Ryan's setup looks insane, but we'll see
Yeah.
what Christian pulls off. So, what do you think Christian does go for here? What is the ideal board, knowing that item lock is about to come in?
Yeah, just being able to have two Manders at the minimum is always good to have. Yeah, the Manders are really important here, and just being able to, I feel like Pidgey's not really as useful.
Probably not as
Yeah.
useful. Do you have their lists, by the way?
Yes.
And I would
there-
agree, Pidgeot is less helpful because unless he plays Pidgeotto, there's no real way to evolve. And it looks like Christian just went with 2 Manders, and that's it.
Yeah, no Pidgeotto.
So that's tough. So now if
Yeah.
Ryan's able to item lock, he could be in a very, very good position. Or better yet, maybe he just wins.
Yeah, maybe.
So we see the energy come down, and we're going to see all Christian needs to have is 2 trainer cards in hand. And Ryan's going to be able to get off the knockout here with a Dusknoir and then a Poltergeist. Ditching a couple of those Night Stretcher does hurt, but what does Ryan need here to pull this off, Brian?
Rare Candy, Dusknoir, and then probably that Ultra Ball for the Benetti X.
And it looks like we do have the Bayonet EX with that Ultra Ball. We are missing the rare candy right now.
And I think the Pokestop has been used already.
Yes, the Pokestop was used prior to the research.
Yeah, and I think it is definitely enough for an attack, but I think we were trying to look for the board wipe here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say, unless we're able to get the board wipe, I think you just want an item lock right
yeah,
now.
item lock definitely is the move here.
All right, and so we'll see what Ryan gets. Do you have a Dusclops or anything like that? We have a Shuppet, we have a Mew EX, we have Iono. So yeah, I think we just item lock for 30.
30.
And we see the top deck. It is an Ultra Ball, which
We
is
cannot use.
wildly unhelpful here.
Ooh, do you think you go for the Iono here?
I mean, I think you have to.
Yeah.
And it looks like Christian had the rare candy Charizard in hand, which is why he did not play the Iono previously.
Yeah, and I like the placement of the Pheasantipity here because, I mean, if you play Iono and Ryan draws everything he needs, he can go for the board wipe.
at this point in time, I actually think Ryan is not going to use any Dust Noirs for a bit. Because I
Okay.
think what Ryan wants to do is wait for Christian to put down a Charmeleon.
Oh,
Since
yeah.
I believe Christian only plays one Charmeleon, correct?
Yes.
So knowing that Rare Candy is not an out, if Ryan just looks and hunts down the Charmeleon and gets rid of it, the only attacker Christian's going to have is either that Fezandipity or Radiant Charizard.
Yeah, and I mean, Radiant Charizard is not really going to be much of an attacker until towards the end of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ryan's going to have to get down to 2 prizes remaining before it can attack for a
Yeah.
manual attachment. And unless you start attaching to it multiple times manually, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with you, Kat. There's not really many lists that have more than one Charmeleon, except for the lists that play TM Evo. TM Evo, you can sometimes see um, an extra Charmeleon, but it's not really a very common build.
And this is one of those lists that only plays one Charmeleon. So
Yeah.
there are very limited outs for Christian to find it, especially knowing he can't Ultra Ball for it.
Yeah, and another big thing too is that even though the Charmeleon goes down, it's not going to be able to attack right away. You still have to wait another turn in order to get the Charizard out.
Exactly. You can double attach to it to try to use Flamethrower or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But even then, if Ryan keeps up the item lock, Christian's never going to be able to use a Super Rod to get it back.
Yeah, definitely. And
Also, Christian
Yeah.
Ryan does actually use the
the Dusclops.
And if we see the Dust Noir here to knock out the Charmander, Ryan could just be saying, you have 4 trainers in hand, and do a board wipe this turn with Poltergeist.
Yeah.
So, Brian, do you think that is the move? What does Ryan want to do here?
Ooh, I don't know if he's able to get that full turn going, but
Like
oh, man.
The biggest deal is we don't have a rare candy.
Yeah, the rare candy, not having that is really huge.
And we have the Iono, but Ionoing Christian to 5 and then hoping 4 of those are trainers does not seem...
Yeah, it's not seem like a great idea.
No, so it may just be we go with the Iono and then just item lock again.
Yeah, which I don't really hate. I think that's a fine play.
Ooh, but Ryan is also debating going in with the Prime Catcher.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. If you Prime Catcher and you Poltergeist, that could also be a play too.
And maybe that makes sense. Prime Catcher, Poltergeist, say go ahead, use your supporters,
Yeah.
and then at that point, just go with item lock the next turn
Yeah.
again.
And I like this play here where he goes for the Iono first, because if he draws into a play where he can get the Dusk Noir, then he won't even need to retreat and go for the Poltergeist right away.
And Christian needs to draw 5 there, correct?
How many did he draw?
I think he drew...
I think that's 5.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, so we do see the Baynet EX come down, and I think we are going to see the item lock there, which is
Yep.
fine.
Yeah.
This is still a really, really good play, because now also that damage is going down onto the Charmander, not onto the Fezandipity.
Yeah, and he was also able to use this as an opportunity to start setting up that second Baynet EX.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we see the Fezandipity draw, the flip the script. We do see another Charmander come down. But the other thing is, Christian may run out of Charmanders pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely.
So that may have been a Featherball. So we do play one... We don't play a Featherball. We don't play a Featherball. Anyway, but we do see the item lock likely coming again. We see the Earthen Vessel to get a couple energy. And Kat, it may have been a Canceling Clone, because Christian does play one of those. All right, so then, Brian, where are these energy attachments going?
I think it's going into the active.
Just to
Yeah.
set up for a
Yeah, just
Poltergeist
set
play?
up for a second Poltergeist.
Oh, we actually
Yeah.
just hold. I don't really mind that.
Yeah, I don't mind that either.
All right, so Christian does top deck the Dusclops, which is kind of unhelpful here.
Yeah.
And we see a Pokestop.
Ooh, I like the Pokestop here.
Okay. So maybe we start digging for that Dust Noir.
Yeah, and even if he gets like a Night Stretcher, and he's able to get like a Dusclops, that could also take care of the active as well.
True.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan doesn't even really want to knock out this active with the item
Yeah.
lock, but at this point,
Might as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't really have a better option since Christian has not taken a knockout yet and
Yeah.
allowed him to bench Radiant Alakazam. So we see the Pidgey. And Brian, I know we're kind of just going back and forth in this, but like, what does
What is that?
Christian look for?
What is that? Is that a max belt?
I believe that is a maximum
Oh,
belt.
wow. I haven't seen that one in a bit.
No, that is a bit of a unique inclusion.
Yeah. I think that's the pass there.
Oh,
Ooh,
we see
is
a
that a
Dust Noir.
Dust Noir.
So now we just got to see a candy, and this game
Yeah.
could be over.
Oh, there's a candy.
And there's a candy. Do you do it if you're Ryan?
I think so. I mean, he's got a lot of cards in hand.
He has approximately 1 billion cards in
Yeah.
hand. And you're going to feed him another prize.
Yeah.
All right, so we see the knockout on Charmander, takes another prize,
Attach return.
and then we're going to switch, and we're going to Poltergeist. And are there 4 trainer cards in hand?
Yeah, there's a
3,
lot of-
4, 5, 6,
Oh,
7,
wow.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We are
Oh, wow.
doing 720 damage.
Enough damage.
That indeed
Yeah.
will knock out the Pheasantipity.
Yikes.
So, Brian, what the heck was that game?
I mean, Ryan managed his resources really well. He took advantage of the Dusk Noir line and was able to get the lock going in.
And I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it came down to, is he
Yeah.
was able to item lock before a single Charizard EX came down.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just the game right there.
Yeah. I mean, even though you have that weakness disadvantage, I mean, when you're able to lock your opponent from playing the game and playing items, definitely a huge thing.
Yeah, weak just doesn't matter if you don't ever get an attacker down.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to jump over to our second game. Are we, Bryce? We are! We have a second
Awesome.
game. And we're seeing 2 decks we've seen already, but Lugia and then Raging Bolt.
Yeah. And I want to say first here, shout out to Nikita. That's actually my deck that he's playing.
Nice. Nikita, excellent player, has been playing things like One Piece recently.
Yeah, so he decided to come back to Pokemon, so he asked me if he could borrow Lugia because that's his favorite deck, and I was like, of course, sir.
We can help out with that.
Yeah, we can help him out with that. So
All right, and so we see Raging Bolt knock out the Lugia V-Star, going to... Why was that so hard? V-Star going down to 4 prizes. Nikita doesn't look like he has a knockout yet.
yeah,
We see the Prime Catcher. We see some interesting cards in that hand. So Pratik's set up for the next turn.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's not like the end of the world here. When he's got research, so he's gonna be able to set up something. So hopefully he's able to get like something like the Weird Ear or like a Ursaluna. So those would be able to clean up this next knockout for sure.
And we do see the research. We see a
Yeah.
Jacqua. You got a shiny deck, man.
Yeah, I try to keep the deck looking nice.
I love it. I usually
Yeah.
play the Poverty Arts is what
yeah,
they call it.
Poverty
So
Arts.
I appreciate when someone else has style.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the Ursaluna's there, so we can definitely attack with that.
We can.
So 5 energy cost, as 2 prizes have been taken, so 3 energies would be needed to attack.
And none of them can be double turbo energy,
Yeah.
just because of the math on Raging Bolt.
Yeah.
We see get a basic Pokemon.
Another
Word Ear
basic.
could be an option here.
Yeah, and I actually like the idea of the Minccino here, just because as a 1-prizer, the Minccino is like a really good attacker here as well.
I would agree. I think
Yeah.
the Minccino's really, really strong, especially because Nikita can put a gift energy on this Blood Moon Ursaluna
Yeah.
just to make sure that if Pratik takes a knockout,
Yeah, and there is enough energy for it to be for the Ursaluna to attack, so definitely has a line here.
so the one line for Pratik I think is going to be best is if he can use that Prime Catcher, pull up the Iron Hands on the bench, knock it out with a Raging Bolt that has a Bravery Charm on it, and then I Ono Nikita in the same turn.
Yeah, and appreciate the nice compliment, Cat. Tried to keep the deck looking nice.
It is lovely.
Yeah.
All right, so Nikita going in with his Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Ooh, the Mezagoza here.
Mezagoza heads, of course.
Yep.
And so what is he even getting, though?
I would think maybe you can get the Cinccino here as well, or even like second Minccino is not a bad idea here, just in case Pratik tries to gust around and try to take out that Minccino, seeing it as a threat. So there's definitely some options,
If second Minccino is available, I
or
think
the
that
Weird Ear. The Weird Ear's cool too.
Weird Ear
Yeah.
can be good because it doesn't have to come down from hand.
Yeah,
So yeah, so if he or Luminion,
yeah. There's definitely a lot of options.
and I think even just holding Luminion for next turn is good to set up in case Pratik does not disrupt his hand.
Yeah,
And so for Pratik, I believe he plays a couple Iono. Do we play any Iono? We play 1 Iono. So do you know if he's played it yet? Can you see?
I cannot see yet.
But I know that's a line I'm seeing here. Is there a different line that you see that could be valuable?
Here. Not too much here right now. I do like the inclusion of the Night Stretchers just because Raging Bolt doesn't typically play a lot of a lot of recovering outs.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for Pratik, he is playing 2 of the Night Stretcher, 2 of the Energy Retrieval, which I think is a really good split where you get plenty of energy back but you can always go in and get out the Pheasantipity or something like that if it's
Yeah.
knocked out.
Definitely. Yeah, I like that idea too, just because it pretty much gives you just another draw 3 in case your opponent really tries to target the Pheasantipity.
Which I think is
Yeah.
typically the move if all the energy's gone from the board to knock out the draw so that your opponent can't pull something cool off.
Yeah.
All right, so we are seeing the Prime Catcher. I think I would love to see that Night Stretcher and start drawing with Teal Mask Ogerpon first before we start to do anything irreversible.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you're able to get some of these energies down on the support Pokemon right away, it'll make the Prime Catcher play a lot easier.
Yes, definitely. And it looks like we are actually getting a Raging Bolt, and
Yeah.
that feels bad.
Yeah, I don't really know if I agree with the play totally, just because there are only 2 prizes left, so that's pretty much going to be the only attacker.
Right, exactly. And so we see the Teal Dance, see another Ogerpon, unfortunately less than helpful. But let's see if we can... Oh, we do just go straight for the Professor Sada.
Yeah, and part of me wants to say that I really want that second attachment to be on the Flutter Mane, just because you can use the retreat off of it. But I mean, if you were to put it on the Bolt, I mean, I don't think there's any harm into either play.
No, I would agree. I think maybe the Iono's already down, but I think the thing I would have just loved to see is that disruption and knock out something that doesn't have a gift.
Yeah.
So we see the retrieval, we see a boss. Maybe the Iono's already down, though.
Yeah.
But all right, so assuming we're going with this line, then what do you want to see from Pratik here?
I mean, Pratik pretty much has the knockout here, right?
Yes.
Being able to discard all those energies gets the knockout. I feel like he needs to set up the following, like at least get his second attacker ready to go, just for the following turn, just so he, like, if he's able to survive this next turn, he'll have an attacker ready to go.
Yes, agreed. And it looks like we have a couple Pokegear in hand, so if we were able to thin out the deck or pull a support out of the deck, we could have.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if there is an Iono in deck.
Yeah.
Can't see
don't
the
see
last
one.
card.
That looks like
It's just a Raging Bolt.
Yeah, Raging Bolt.
All right. So unless there was a Pal Pad available, Iono wasn't even an option here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get the Raging Bolts. Do you want to see Pratik put down the Pokestop?
I would. I feel like Lugia doesn't really like Pokestop, because every time I play it, I always mill 3 energies.
True.
So
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like Nikita has the Ultra Ball in hand, also has the Boss's Orders in hand. Pratik will be able to knock out this Blood Moon Ursaluna with 4 energy.
Yep.
And Nikita is going to be able to respond pretty easily if there's a Cincino in deck.
I don't know if there is, though. That's the thing.
All right, and so we are going to take the... Just debating which energy to
Yeah.
take. We'll take the energy off the active for the knockout. Well, we got plenty of bosses, but now the question is there a Cincino?
Yeah, I don't know if I saw one. I see a Minchino. I don't see a Cinchino.
Interesting.
So what I'm thinking here is that Nikita puts the energy there. He tries to put the Weird Ear down and then uses the retreat.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
think that makes a ton of sense. So in order to knock out this Raging Bolt, Weird Ear's going to have the equivalent of 6 energy on it. That's tough, though, because Nikita can only accelerate 4 with Archeops.
Yeah, and I think he would need to maybe like go for like a Luminion play if there's Iono in the deck. There is one Iono in the deck. So that could be a possibility to put some of those double turbos into the bottom of the deck, just so that they can be Archeops to back in.
You know what, Brian? I'm bad at counting. You do need 6 energy to knock out the active bolts. You only need 4 energy to knock out the bench squawk.
The bench squawk.
And Nikita does have Boss's Orders in hand.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So there is a line for Nikita to win the game right now.
Yes.
We'll see the double jet. Unless you're thinking of a different line than I am.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at a different line just because I'm thinking about using those other energies that he has in his hand.
True, we do
Yeah.
see the fish.
The fish will probably get Iono.
We'll get Iono.
And I'm wondering if he's going to grab the Weird Ear before playing the Iono. I would hope he would.
So, does he not have 2 additional energy in deck?
I don't believe so.
Well, that could definitely be the problem then.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to Mesacosa. We do
Oh,
see a heads.
There we go.
I could have sworn. Yeah, no, there's no more energy in deck.
Yeah, I
so
think that's why the Iono play needed to happen.
So this then is tough because Nikita likely is not going to be able to win the game this turn unless you're seeing something I'm not.
Yeah. Because he did attach already.
He did. And so we've got 3 energy. So unless there's something else we're missing, this is just where we are. And we'll play the Iono.
Yep, the Iono.
And Raging Bolt doesn't love seeing Iono like that, but at the same time, there's so many ways for Pratik to draw.
Yeah.
All right, so Nikita takes the
Yeah.
cards, use the Archeops to accelerate. And where do these go?
Probably on the Weird Ear, right?
I imagine, yeah. Because if Nikita is going to go in and hit with the Word Ear, then it doesn't really matter. They can go
Yeah.
anywhere on the board. But this is also a bold move because Nikita can go into the Word Ear with the Legacy energy on it, not lose, but Nikita's out of energy then.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have to retreat one of those energy
Yeah.
off. Can you let Nikita know
Yeah.
that he does have to retreat one? Thank you.
I think he's off just by a little bit.
Yeah, because with this count right now, he would be good. But because he has to retreat an energy off, we're only going to be at 5 energy total.
Yeah.
All right. So then we're going to be hitting for 200 and...
I think it's 12 plus 6, 18 only.
Yeah, so we're hitting for 180, which
Yeah.
is good, but it's not a knockout.
Yeah.
All right. So we hit for 180. The good news for Nikita, though, is Pratik can't win the game by knocking out this Word of Veer. He will
Yes.
have to guss something on the bench. So we see the draw.
Yep.
And we see Mesa Goza. Is Pratik not going to be able to draw with that hand?
I don't know, actually. Because, I mean, his bench is full already.
It is. And
I
so,
don't see a way for him to retreat out.
so Pratik now is getting punished for taking the stuff off the active.
Yeah. Which, in hindsight, seemed like the right move in the first place, right?
So I don't know. I actually disagree.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
because
there's only 2 prizes left.
exactly. If Nikita took a knockout, he won the game anyway.
Yeah.
But now, with Nikita not able to one-shot it, it's a 2-shot, and Pratik isn't able to respond.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have an Ultra Ball. So we're going to be able to thin, but
Yeah, but I don't really know what you're able to grab here.
no, there's no way to draw from the
Yeah.
board. If this Raging Bolt is stuck in the active, then Nikita does win
think
with a
Nikita just-
2-shot.
Yeah, I think Nikita just wins here.
That is a mildly disappointing way to end this game, if
I
I'm
know,
being
right?
honest with you.
Yeah.
All right, so we see the Ultra Ball away. We are down to 1 card in hand. Is it a good card? It is not a good enough
Yeah.
card. All right,
Alright.
so Pratik does go down. Nikita wins.
Yeah, dude, there was a second Chinchino.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So aside from not ditching all the energy in the active, is there anything else Pratik should have done differently there?
Yeah, it's probably just the energy placement is probably the biggest thing. And also, I think another thing here is recognizing that, that's the only thing that needs to be knocked out. So maybe using something else on that final bench spot, like maybe another Ogre Pawn could have been helpful just to give a little bit more draw.
Yes, agreed. And my guess is that Pratik started the Flutter Mane or something like that, but still, agreed. How do you set up your board so that way when you are disrupted
Yeah.
late, you're able to respond?
Yeah.
So I was playing online earlier today, playing the Palkia Dustmore deck, which is so cool,
Yeah.
against Raging Bolt, and I owned them to 1 and got rid of the Pokestop.
Oh, boy.
They had no Raging Bolts down
Yeah.
and no energy on board.
Hmm.
So, of course, at the end of the turn, they one-shot my Palkia that I
Yeah.
had in the active because the deck, when you see a single energy, can draw so much
Yeah.
so quickly. And Champ, I believe he would have had access to Fezandipity if he had not benched the second Raging Bolt
Yep.
and instead had gotten down the Fez or something like that. So, kind of another lesson of bench management.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like a lot of people have sort of gotten around that bench management because of Area Zero now, but definitely still a really good skill to have.
And it's going to be important even with that because you have flexibility.
Yep.
But now for Lugia, still hate this deck. Brian, tell us more about Lugia. Like, why is this deck a good play to Louisville, and why should no one play it?
All right, so I think people should play it. Actually, I don't know if I recommend people should play it,
Okay, fair.
but it's one of those decks where you really high roll it, and if you high roll and you get the right things you need, you can pretty much beat anything in the game.
True.
So that's the way that I look at it. Whereas like if you run hot that day, you're gonna be running hot the whole tournament. But it's one of those things too where it's like if you're not able to play the game, then you're gonna be unfortunately maybe stuck with one Archeops and you won't be able to attack.
And Champ, like you're saying,
Yeah.
Lugia is one of those decks where 80% of the time it works all the time.
Yeah.
Like if you set up, you can run over any and everything. You just don't do it enough for my liking.
Yeah, and when we're looking at a list like this one here, this one's an interesting list because when you play something like the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, I really like the card. I think it has a lot of really good upside. It's able to, recycle the legacy energy, do a lot of really cool stuff, and it takes advantage of the Area Zero. It's just not like one of those cards that really helps with your consistency, and I think that's why a lot of people have really gone towards Kieran Farah's list because it's all about consistency.
Yes, and the Squawkabilly EX is huge for that. Like this list, for instance, plays only 3 Professors Research.
Yeah, that's got to be a fourth one. I don't.
That hurts me.
Yeah, the Thornton's cool, but it's like one of those things where it's like, how many times are you going to really be using Thornton? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So Terrapagos, I think, is really strong, but just there's such a low damage cap on it. You
Yeah.
have to use it in combination with something like Dust Noir,
Yeah.
especially to hit the V-star numbers of 280.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people are trying to think of maybe like if you play Terrapagos, it could be a way that you can get around. You can use like the Area Zero, and you can hit
Brian,
for the big numbers.
I'm gonna let you keep talking about this
Yeah.
deck. I'm gonna go set the
Go
next
ahead.
round because honestly, this is probably one of the best decks in the format.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's part of the reason why I've stuck with it so long is just because even though there are days where I get Lugia hands, and it makes me very sad, is if I'm able to get a good setup, I'm pretty much able to have a good chance to win. Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Champ. Like a lot of extra space for like the text. Like a lot of people really like Iron Bundle. I really like Iron Bundle. Fluttermane's cool for the Iron Thorns matchup, makes it winnable. I really like the 3/3 rat line, but sometimes you can't really fit all of those things. So being able to go for a pure consistency list like Kieran, friend of the team, it's like a really good list to go through. Let's see what Nuz says here. Pure Zard with 1/1 arc. That's a crazy, crazy list. I know a lot of people have been doing stuff like that when Charizard first came out, just because you were able to take advantage of the Starbirth. But yeah, definitely an interesting one. Force stop, Pokestop, and a huge Dusknoir line. Yeah, I think if you don't want to play like Lugia, if you don't want to play Charizard, play a deck that plays Dusknoir. I feel like Dusknoir is one of the strongest like cards in the game right now, and if you're able to play a deck that really takes advantage of it and is able to, really further your game with it, you're gonna be very successful. Like a lot of people have been on that Terrapagos with the Dusknoir, Palkia Dusknoir, like Banette EX. There's a lot of decks that use really heavy counts of Dusknoir line, and it really helps them. Helps you. It's like a really great win more card. Yeah, the 1/1 arc line. Yeah. Yeah, Arceus is an interesting one. Which is kind of sad because like I don't see Arceus around anymore. I really miss playing Arceus. I used to play Arceus a lot when I first started playing, but it's definitely not the same card that it used to be when it came out. Yeah, but being able to for this Lugia list take advantage of Iron Hands and Ursaluna, there's just so many powerful cards that you can use, and all of them have colorless attacks. So being able to power those up, super easy.
So I agree.
Yes.
It's a good deck, man.
Yeah, it's a great deck.
So Bryce is punching everything for our last round. We do have 2 4-0s we are going to see, but first, in our glorious high quality meta share here,
Yep.
these are the decks we have seen today in our meta. And as you can see, a lot of Lugia, a lot of Charizard Dusknoir, a bunch of Regidrago V-Star. We did have an Iron Thorns, unfortunately didn't go very well. And we
Yeah.
also had an Arceus, also didn't go very well.
Yeah.
But we do see, like, we saw a ton of Lugia, but for our last matchup, we're going to see Bayonet versus Regidrago V-Star
Is it
for
Ryan
our
and
4-0s. It is Ryan and Michael,
Oh, that's
exactly.
awesome.
So 2 of the best players in the room, and honestly, 2 of the better players in the game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ryan's fresh off of a Worlds invite.
Yes.
Awesome finish at EUIC.
Exactly.
Very versatile player, plays a lot of different stuff. we don't like to see that Alakazam start.
We do not.
But
That
this is
is
an
less than
interesting-
ideal.
But this is a super interesting matchup just because as soon as the Banette's able to get the item lock, it's like Drago kind of feasts on those items too. You know, you need your Ultra Balls, you need, stuff like that in order to get the dragons in the discard.
Agreed. But
Yeah.
on Michael's end, Michael just drew past turn 1.
Yeah.
Now Michael has an Ultra Ball, but that Ultra Ball is not going to be able to get Squawk. We're going to have to start digging for something else here.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if you just go straight up for like the V-Star here and try to like get some more stuff in your hand until you're not able to use the items anymore, or if it's like one of those things where you just let your supporters carry you, like the heavy research count and all that.
So Michael luckily has V-Star in hand already.
Yeah.
Combined with at least an Iono, there may be and there is a research
There's
as
the
well.
research as well. Yeah.
So Michael will be able to play the game, and Ryan gets a little bailed out and having a little extra time here with that Alakazam stuck in the active.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately, Ryan's going to need a whole lot more time unless he top decks a switch or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan does play 4 Iono, so there's definitely a way where he can try to draw into it a little sooner.
Yes. And Michael got to be grateful that Ryan did just give him the old pass back over.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, getting that item lock this early would have been hugely problematic.
Yeah, definitely. And there could have been a world where maybe he uses the Salvatore.
Right,
The
exactly.
Salvatore.
That is a very real option
Yeah.
here. All right, so we do see the research, but researching double energy switch and Iono.
Yeah, that cannot feel good.
No, Michael, we do see. Do
We
we
see-
see 2 energy switch?
Yeah, he's got more energy switches.
I mean, maybe Michael gets an attack off here.
Yeah, there's definitely a world where he's able to.
So we do need 2 Ogerpon. We have, I believe, an Earthen Vessel in hand. We can get rid of that Kyurem. But we would need to see both Ogerpon. And then, I mean, actually, if we just have an out to another Ogerpon, we got it.
Yeah, and it's a crazy thing. Now that I think the Dragapult was the first thing that was discarded.
Yes.
So being able to take out something like the Shuppet eliminates the need for the what's it called? If you take out the Shuppet, I mean, it won't be able to item lock.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So Shuppet does have an attack where you do 10 damage, flip a coin. If heads, you do item lock. So there's still a chance. But at that point, Michael will be able to attack with
Yeah.
Regidrago V-Star, and that's so much pressure for Ryan to handle.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we will see the teal dance. And at this point, Michael
Oh, that's the
has the
second
out.
Ogerpon.
It is. The issue is, because of the number of cards in Michael's hand, Michael can't use that Ultra Ball to get the Ogerpon. He will have to use his V-Star.
Yeah.
Because he needs that grass, that fire energy, and both of those energy switch. So we will see the V-Star here. And yeah, we'll see what Michael gets off the V-Star. So Michael also does have the option to just pass, but I don't know how you don't decide to apply pressure here.
Yeah, and I think there was something that Kat was mentioning earlier. It's like when you V-Star, like we see in this game, Michael's V-Starring very early compared to the last game where it was like one of the last things he did before his like deck was completely empty. So
Yes.
it's super smart here grabbing the research just because like if you have no way to draw more cards, once the item lock is up, you can just grab use research again and just have more cards to work with.
Yes, exactly. So he is going to be able to play the game. And he also knows with what Ryan is playing, the likelihood of this Regidrago V-Star getting knocked out next turn is very, very low.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
I mean, it's so hard for it to get knocked out with 280 HP.
Right. So the biggest thing for Ryan is hoping that Michael does not get an out to a Giratina V-Star or something in the
Yeah.
discard. And we see the attachment, and Ryan's like,
Yeah,
"Aw,
Ryan's like, come on, man. He's like,
We
you
were-
really got all that?
We were doing so well for a
Yeah.
while there." All right, and then I think we're just going to see the Phantom Dive knock out Alakazam and the Shuppet.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's no other Pokemon to put down on the board, there might not be a game for much longer.
Well, we've got a Pokestop.
Oh,
That is, and
dang.
Ryan just scoops it up.
Oh, that's tough.
That's a tough way to see it go
Yeah.
down. Was there anything else Ryan could have done there?
I don't really know. I mean, he had a pretty slow start. You know, it's kind of hard going second. He was given a little bit of time with the attach pass,
Yes.
or not the draw pass turn, but I don't know. There was just not much that Ryan was given to work with.
So honestly, the biggest thing is that Michael hits the out to the Regidrago attack.
Yeah.
Because if he does not, there is a chance for Ryan to do something there, but
Yeah.
just it was too much pressure too quick.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to jump over to our second game because I'm hoping they're still going. Yes.
Yeah.
So here we are seeing Regidrago versus Lugia, which, like we said, is a bad matchup, but it looks like there may be a shot for Regidrago here.
Yeah. Is our boy Kev gonna aqua return here?
We may see an aqua return here.
Is that an aqua return angle?
So Kevin Deitch, also a new member of the Nerd Rage gaming team, playing against Mr. CEO of Chi and Pow himself, Jared Grimes.
Jared Grimes.
And yeah, this is not ideal
Yeah,
for
not
Kevin.
ideal.
And are we just going to see a pass over from Kevin?
Yeah, there's only one Archeops in there.
So we know that Jared has had at least one turn. We believe this is Kevin's either first or second turn and can't tell.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's just a pass over. So my guess is first turn for Kevin.
Yeah, turn the stream off.
All right, we see the draw from Jared, and that was a professor's research. Regidrago V-Star is just cooking again in
Yeah.
this round.
And it's crazy to see that a lot of people were predicting that Regidrago wouldn't have had this, is not going to have as much of a meta share going into the next format, but it seems to still be pretty good deck.
I mean, things obviously changed looking at the
Yeah.
next format, but I mean, the core of the engine just doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's so strong.
I know, and when you're given a Pokemon that can copy other Pokemon's attacks,
Typically pretty
historically it's been pretty
good.
good. I hear.
Historically, it's been reasonable.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what
exactly.
that's what I've heard.
I don't know if anyone watched Worlds in 2019 or something like that,
Yeah.
but it's a pretty good deck.
Was that the Henry Brand year?
There was the Henry Brand with
with the
Mew
Mew
3.
with the Mew 3. Okay.
Yes.
I know. I've read about that.
It was, oh God, I've been playing for so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to topic. So Jared has the Regidrago V-Star. He's in a great spot. He's got Abby rooting for him in the chat, which
Yes,
is
shout out to Abby.
fantastic. We see a Prime Catcher, and
Is this going to be a Giratina angle here?
it may be a Giratina angle
Yeah.
here. And so we will see what we draw. Do we have a Giratina in the discard?
That's a good question.
I believe we do. So we're going to see, we have the energy switch. We can start to set up that second Regidrago V. So call me crazy here, Brian. Is there ever a world where we cure him?
No.
Good talk.
I don't
I'm
think
glad
so.
we had this moment together.
I don't think so, because I think the biggest part about this, it's not really getting Jared anywhere if he goes with the Kyurem.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
I'm glad we talked about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I think so. Just because if you sacrifice all your energy just to take out that little rat, it's like not really worth it.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I'm going to still defend myself just
Yeah.
because I can and I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
My only thought is if you do take out the little rat, hit into the active Lugia, and then also hit into the Luminion,
Yep.
you're going to be able to take a knockout on Lugia V-Star next turn with the Dragapult Ping, clear out the, Luminion as well, and placing damage counters plays around the Luminous energy.
Yes.
So you would put yourself in a position to win the game with a single attack on an Archeops or anything.
Yeah, definitely.
So apparently it is still a horrible idea, but this was my reasoning.
Yep.
And we will see the lost impact. Yes, and Nikita, thank you for the support. As
Yes.
I hope everyone's listening to me. I'm here talking.
Yep.
All right, so 2 prizes, fantastic. Still have the V-Star available. Still have a V-Star on the bench to his backup. Jared's got to be feeling like he's in a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not too hard for him to get those grass energies back into play. I mean, he hasn't used his V-Star yet, so Jared's in a really good spot here.
He is, and knowing that, like we saw, using the V-Star early to set an aggressive game plan, fantastic. Saving it for late to respond is oftentimes even better because you just have access to so many important resources.
Yeah, and I don't even know what Kev can do here.
So did Kevin
Oh.
flip a heads?
No, he flipped the tails.
That is highly problematic.
Yeah.
And because we have the Lugia V-Star already on the bench, or Luminion V,
Yeah.
ugh, that is not great.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel good to have another one, but I feel like you kind of have to get the second V here just in case.
Well, we have Iono, we have Research, we have Mesagoza. We're going to see if we can get a better flip here.
There
And
we
we
go.
see a heads.
There we
All
go.
right. So we will be able to get the V-Star, which I believe is what he's searching for, yes?
I think he was searching for second chops, but I don't know. Oh wait, does he have another chops in hand? Yeah, he does.
He does, all right.
Okay.
But he does not have a research.
It's not a research.
So do we have only a single chops in the discard?
It seems to be.
And yes, agreed. Lugia, it is a pile. I will
Yes.
never, ever defend it, even if it is really good.
Yeah.
All right, so Brian, Kevin, looking like an Iona play here. What is he trying to find?
Ultra Ball and chops.
Well, all right, fair
I
enough.
think that's the.
Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it nice and simple. I think you need Ultra Ball and chops, but it's a little tough. I mean, just you need more stuff to work with. It would be nice if you can get like Chinchino out. If you're able to get at least like Ultra Ball and chops out, you'll be able to get an attack going. So, don't really know how Kev's gonna go about this here.
So I'm just going to throw something out here hypothetically. If Jared had murdered this poor, sweet little mouse, this Regidrago would not be dying.
Yeah, definitely.
But because the mouse lives, there is a chance that this Regidrago goes down this turn. Now, granted, Jared can probably respond pretty easily,
Yeah.
but it would require using his V-Star and hitting 2 energy switch in order to respond.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the really great parts about being able to save your V-Star is that you can do stuff like double.
Let's see the
switch again.
heads. It is
Oh,
a
the
tail.
tails.
That
Oh,
is
Kev.
very, very
Oh, Kev.
problematic.
No, Kev.
Because
Not like
even
this.
Bryce is shaking his head over here
Yeah.
like, come on, man.
Oh, not like this.
So, unfortunately, if Kevin had gotten the heads, we would have seen the double Archeops.
Yeah, the double Archeops play, and maybe a Chinchino would have been in play as well.
Yes. However,
However,
we did not see that.
yeah, I mean when 4 of your cards determining your ball search or your Pokemon search rely on a coin flip.
It's not great, boss.
That could tends to happen.
Yes. So, on the bright side, with the single prizer in the active, Kevin can pass, and it's not catastrophic because it would be hard for Jared to take a 2-prize knockout right now without getting the attachment E-switch.
Yeah.
But we'll see what Kevin decides to do. Is there another line he has available?
I don't think right now. I think one of his main things is kind of hoping that the Mezagoza stays in place, and maybe he can try to get the double chops play next round, next turn. I think one big thing that he's kind of banking on is maybe Jared's not going to be able to get his Regidrago going.
We'll see.
Um,
So we have the pass on over to Jared. We see an Ogerpon top deck,
Yeah.
and I mean, we're going to be playing a Professor Research here. Which for Jared is fine. There's still 7 cards into the deck,
Yeah.
and I believe he still has access to his Prime Catcher.
It seems like it based on what we have here. Yeah, but he's got so many options here with I think I see it. Is that just a normal switch or an E-switch?
In Jared's hand,
In the discard.
in the discard, there
think
is at
that's a-
least 1 E-switch in there, and it
Yeah.
also is a normal switch.
Yeah, so I mean if you're able to draw into something like an Earthen Vessel and an E-switch, you'll be able to attack again just like you were in the last turn.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
all you need. No, typically Lugia does not play Pheasantipity.
Unless you're Rahul ready.
Well, correct,
Yeah.
unless you're Rahul. Rahul's list was very, very interesting, by the way.
Yeah, he was playing like a 1/1 Chinchino line. He was playing Raikou V.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are some of the decisions when you're just confident you're going to draw better than your opponent.
Yeah.
All right, so I think what Jared is doing here is debating, do you use the V-Star first and then utilize the boss's orders in hand? But with the V-Guard energy on Lugia, I gotta imagine you just research.
Yeah, I think you just go with the research first as well, just because, I mean, if you're able to get a Dragapult attack off, you can definitely spread some damage counters and get to the point where you can get around both that V-Guard and that, and the Legacy energy.
And the Dragapult spread, I think, is really valuable, especially with that V-Guard energy down, since Regidrago V-Star caps at a damage of 280, unless
Yeah.
you're playing something like Raging Bolt. So that Lugia can tank a hit, and to be honest, that's a big part of the reason why it's such a bad matchup.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we do see the research. Iona was an option, but didn't seem like a good one. All right, we do see the Earthen Vessel. We see energy. No E-switch yet. So Jared's going to try to dig a little further, see if he can find it, or just rely on the V-Star.
Yeah, I think the V-Star is probably the safest play here. I don't think you're going to get really punished that much longer. if you're able to just use a V-Star now, just because, I mean, if you look at Kev's board, I mean, he hasn't gotten any Archeops onto the board yet, so.
Right. So Kevin, though, wisely putting that V-Guard down so that there wasn't a way for Jared to completely ruin his day, but still just in a very tough position.
Yeah, and I don't know if Jared plays Sinnoh, but if he dug through this much of his deck and he decides to V-Star now, he has a good chance of drawing into it.
There is no Temple of Sinnoh in Jared's list. He does play a Jamming
Oh, he
Tower.
plays the jamming tower. Okay. Oh, I think that was Colin that was also talking about that too.
Yes. All right, we
Yeah.
do see the draw from the Teal Dance. And looks like we just got the attack if we
Yeah.
want. So here's the question. What attack do you use? Is it just Phantom
I
Dive?
think you have to use Phantom Dive here. Yeah.
Is there ever a world where you use something like Gudra, or do we not need to worry about that because there's no Minchino down?
No, yeah, I think Goudreau doesn't really factor in just because I feel like the only time you'd use Goudreau is like if you know your opponent has gone through like a good majority of their energy.
And that makes a ton of
Yeah.
sense to try to put yourself out of the one-shot range. But
Yeah.
right now, he's already out of one-shot range.
Yeah.
All right, so, well, yes, we are out of one-shot range unless we use 2 double turbos. So it would be tough. And we do see 6 damage come down on the Lugia V-Star. And now Kevin has a chance to try to pull something off.
Oh, the Mezagoza. It's time.
Mezagoza is going to be big. All right, let's see it.
Oh,
see
you
the
got it.
heads. All right.
You can play the game now.
And Jared just saying they always have it. All right, so with this Ultra Ball, there is actually a way for Kevin to be able to reach with that Wordeer if there's a couple double turbo left in the deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could see 6 energy, including 2 of those being double turbo. That will get us to 280.
Yeah, I definitely can see it.
And so one of those is probably going to have to be a jet energy in order to get the switch, but see if Kevin can pull it off.
Yeah.
The good news too is Wordy only taking or only giving up 1 prize if it does move that legacy energy. Kevin or Jared's still going to be able to win in 2 knockouts, but it allows Kevin to also bench a Minchino to threaten a knockout later.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we do have Wordeer, we do have Minchino. We can, I think, safely bench both of those.
Yeah, I think both of them can definitely get benched.
And because we really just need space for those Archeops. So now what Kevin is debating is, do I use Primal Turbo before or after this Iono?
I think you use Primal Turbo. Ooh, that's tough because it's like you don't want to draw into all of your energy, but at the same time, you would rather have a jet energy.
So, and that's the thing is, I think Kevin will need the jet energy in order to take this knockout.
Yeah, so I think he Primal Turbos before, just so he can at least clear out like stuff like the double turbos.
And there is at least 1 jet energy left in the deck.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and it's if you're able to thin out like 4-ish, 4 cards out of your deck, and then you're still drawing into 6, I guess it kind of helps, but like, I feel like I would want to see that second Primal Turbo before playing.
So I would agree. I would want to see the second Primal Turbo. However, I would like to see it onto the Lugia V-Star.
Yes.
Because you're already going to be able to move the energy onto Wordeer, but if you put it on the Lugia V-Star, you can still attack if need be.
Yes, I do like that idea as well.
Oh, are we not benching the Minchino here? We'll bench the Jamming Tower.
Yeah.
Is there a reason to not put the Minchino down?
I think you do put the Minchino down.
I do too.
Yeah,
We'll see. Oh, we see the Jet.
we do see the jet.
My goodness, we'll see a knockout here if Kevin
Yeah.
decides to take that route. And do you think that's a play he's going to line up?
Absolutely. I definitely think so, just because, I mean, when you've committed all of this energy already into getting the weirder set up, you might as well finish off with it.
I would agree.
Yeah.
The one downside is Jared will be able to take a knockout on Wordeer with Teal Mask Ogrepon, which is less than ideal.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have the legacy on there, it's not really as big of a deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So we will see. We do have to see 2 double turbo come down, I believe, if my math is correct. Well, I lied. Only one double turbo
Yeah.
because there were already the 2 energy on the board and the manual attachment. But are we not taking the one shot?
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I always like, maybe I don't know if this is the optimal play, but I always like really getting those double turbos out onto the Weird Ear right away, just because I feel like in other matchups, like the double turbos don't really offer as much value.
Interesting. So we are not going for the one shot with Wordeer. Or did we? Does he not have a jet in hand?
I thought there was a jet in hand.
I thought there was a jet in hand too. Maybe not.
Maybe.
Well, regardless, we see a Tempest Dive,
Yeah.
which does do a good bit of damage, but it's still within one shot range for this Regidrago V-Star. And
Yeah.
Jared hasn't used his V-Star yet.
Yeah, he hasn't used his V-Star, which is definitely an important part. I think that's part of the reason why he hasn't used the V-Star yet is just he's respecting the fact that Kev can wipe out his only attacker with energy, and if he uses the V-Star, he'll be able to power up the second attacker much
Yes.
easier.
And so one thing to know with the Regidrago V-Star, if you have no cards in deck, you cannot use your V-Star.
Yes.
But if you have any cards in deck, you can use the V-Star. And I don't think we're quite at that point for Jared yet, but it is good to keep in mind.
Yes, definitely a good thing to keep in mind.
So the one risk for Jared, though, is he is lost zoning a lot of energy here if he takes this knockout.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's like part of him is thinking that he shouldn't take that knockout on the Lugia V-Star and maybe should try to target something else.
And if you do, what is it you target?
I don't know, maybe the Archeops, just to get you back onto even prizing. Oh, but it seems like, oh, is this a Kyurem play?
Ooh. So how do you feel about that decision?
Yeah, I don't know.
110, 110, 110. So that would indeed win the game for Jared if he's able to pull off a back-to-back Kyurem. So
Yeah.
now, if you're Kevin, a Gust knockout on the bench Regidrago V-Star seems like a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. If he's able to get that knockout.
And maybe this was the reason for not putting down the Minccino, is to eliminate that Kyurem play as a win condition.
Yeah, definitely. And I can definitely get behind that.
But also, even if Jared takes another prize, like, you're still going to be able to win the game if you
Yeah.
clear out all the Regidrago V-Stars.
Definitely.
All right, so Kevin is deciding, and I guess, and we have a Thornton
The
available.
Thornton.
Interesting.
Ooh.
So there is a way to set up a follow-up attacker. So the issue, though, is Kevin really, really wants to Gust knock out that Regidrago V-Star.
Yeah.
And so, do we have a boss in hand?
I don't know if I see one.
So no, we did not have the Jet Energy. Instead, we had Thornton.
Oh, so we thought the jet
Okay,
was a
so,
Thornton.
yes. So that play was not available to him.
Yeah.
But we do have a research that Thornton. This is tough. So Kevin is in a very difficult spot here.
Yeah.
And so we see the Mist Energy. We see the Gift Energy. And the Mist Energy coming down could be very helpful if. Well, we're just going to slap it on the word here,
Yeah.
I guess. But the Mist Energy could be helpful to prevent Jared from winning via a Phantom Dive rather than winning via another Kyurem attack.
Mhm.
And yeah, V-Star for 2 energy switch is all he's going to need unless Kevin's able to knock out. And yeah, with Fire in hand, the odds are Jared's probably got it.
Yeah, he definitely.
Which is unfortunate, but
Yeah.
you know what? Lugia's losing, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
Ah, it's all right.
hate to be rude here, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how the deck works sometimes. You know, you either run hot or
Or
the
you
deck-
don't.
or you don't get to play the game for the whole day.
Yes. And so this is another reason why I think benching that Minccino could have been so good.
Yeah,
Is if you put the Minccino down and slap a gift energy on it, if Jared does pull off a play like that, you're able to go in and then dig further and maybe find that boss or that Iono to disrupt their hand.
yeah, definitely. Another thing that kind of hurts Kev's chances here too is I think he discarded the Blood Moon Ursaluna earlier in the game, so I don't think that's going to be something he can use.
No, it is still in deck.
Oh, it's still on the deck. Okay.
Unfortunately, right now, because all Jared needs is those double energy switch, it's not really going to be that helpful to try to take the
Yeah.
knockout here. All right,
Just
so
go
we
for the
will see the knockout. Kevin goes down to 4 prizes remaining. Jared still has 3 to take. And yeah, we're just a V-Star for double E switch away.
Yeah.
Yep, V-Star. Let's see it. Yeah, and Kevin
Yeah.
Kevin scoops it up as
Yep.
dramatically as possible. So we now saw basically our second place game or third place game.
Yeah.
Ryan ended up with a 4-1 record. Michael with Regidrago V-Star ended up with a 5-0 record.
Undefeated on the night.
Undefeated. We see Jared with a 4-1 record with
Yeah.
Regidrago V-Star. And Lugia, thank goodness, loses again.
Again.
Sorry, Kevin. So, Brian, watching this, seeing all these matchups, I know we're at the end of the format. What conclusions are you taking from these games today?
Yeah, I think the turbo decks weren't really as all that as people were expecting them to be.
That is true.
Yeah, they had a crazy showcase at Worlds. I mean, Roaring Moon second place, Miraidon top 4,
Yeah.
Raging Bull top 8. But you know, a lot of those decks didn't really do so well as besides Regidrago. Regidrago was really the deck that really prevailed throughout the whole entire format. Charizard made a comeback.
Yes.
And then Lugia also made a comeback as well. So there's definitely a lot that really changed throughout this format, and it actually evolved a lot. Even though that Shrouded Fable was a very small set, it had a lot of very effective cards, and these cards are going to have a big effect on our meta for a long time.
Agreed. I
Yeah.
think Pheasantipity alone is a just game-defining card right now.
Yeah, and then I mean the Dusknoir line is going to torment us for a minimum of 2 years.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
does it help you make a lot of interesting decisions? Yes. Is
Yes.
it going to be an actively problematic card?
Maybe.
Probably,
probably.
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
probably.
And Champ, I agree. Drago is the best deck in the format, and to be honest, it was not close. Yes.
Oh
please.
yeah, let's bring her in. Real
And
quick.
so
Yeah.
before we end up here, we
Yeah.
are going to have one more special guest join us for a moment. We have Lyric Wisdom, Emily, here with us today. Emily, how the
Hi.
heck are you doing?
I am doing well. Dare I say, I was on the plane today and I was like, okay, like I'm just going to go and play Pokemon cards, and I hit 4 Drago mirrors and 3 Worlds competitors back to back. So I'm having a really great day, but I ended 3-2,
Okay.
and I'm on the bubble,
Okay.
and my losses were like Davidson and Grimes, and they're both 5-0 and 4-1. So I might be in there.
They're pretty good players, you know.
They're okay.
Yeah, they're reasonable.
Okay, like okay.
So Emily, can you introduce yourself for the people in advance of this weekend?
Hi, my name is Emily, or Lyric, either or. We're still trying to figure out what Pokemon players call me, because honestly, I responded to both at Baltimore.
To be honest, I've called you both, talking
yeah,
to Colin
honestly,
or
it's
anyone
either
else,
or.
though.
It's
Yes.
literally either or. So my name's Emily or Lyric, either one. The latest caster addition to the North American casting team for Pokemon TCG, but I'm also a Chicago visitor.
Yes.
So I've been watching NRG streams like every Thursday anyway, because you guys stream your tournaments, and I personally love watching tabletop. So I'm an NRG watcher, and I was like, hey, do you think they'd let me cast? And then Baltimore happened. And then it was like, yeah, I guess we'll let you cast.
To be fair, we're probably going to let you anyway, but we're still very excited to have you here.
Yeah, so I guess like new TCG like caster edition. I think like I was saying it throughout the Baltimore stream though, that I really kind of wanted to push forward is that I'm not going to stop playing because I'm casting. I'm still
Right.
going to be everywhere, because I think the best casters are the ones that are always playing, because they want to know the best lines, and the way you find out the best lines is you figure it out yourself on the table.
And
So
I will say, as someone who watches the streams, I always take commentary more seriously from people who actually understand what is happening
Absolutely.
in the game.
it's very, very important.
It is. So, Emily, we are super hyped to have you here. We are
Yay.
so excited to have you here on Sunday, too, and are commentating. And then for those asking in the chat, for our Thursday night locals, we have a $10 buy-in, and all of that gets paid out in store credit based on record. So if you're 4-0, you get $60, 3-1, 40, and then 3-1 or 3-0-1, 40, 3-1, 20. So
What about 3-2?
3-2, we are very happy to have you here.
No way.
So
I'm getting on the plane and going home. No,
for
I'm
the
kidding.
challenges, it is a little different, but for locals typically. So
So close.
yes, so Kat, we would love to have you out here. Also, thank you all for the positive feedback. Really appreciate it. It has been awesome having you all here. We have a ton of other games at Nerd Rage, but you know we are hyped about Pokemon. So please tell your friends, invite others. We are going to have one heck of a stream on Sunday. So
whoop.
Emily, excited to have you here.
Super excited to be here.
Brian, who's standing over here without a microphone, always hyped to have you here.
Super excited to see you.
Yes. And thank you all very much for joining. We will see you all Sunday here on Nerd Rage Gaming.
Ba-ba-bow.